Hey guys! This is part 5 of What If Naruto Was a Digimon Tamer. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 12. Why is there a chicken in the... Takato and his friends were chatting with each other, talking about Digimon and other unimportant things. Ms. Namiya Seiji, the teacher of Takato and his friends, had just walked into class with that uncaring look on her face that said, "Why am I here? You children are all going to be failures in life." She closed the sliding door and turned to the class, slamming her one of 5 heavy textbooks on the desk. The ear-shattering thump that echoed throughout the class was more than enough to silence any and all conversations in the class. Ms. Seiji nodded before secretly taking out a relaxant drug that she always kept on hand. "Now that you all have settled down, I have an announcement to make." She was interrupted as Kazu shot up and spoke. "School has been closed for the rest of my life?" he asked hopefully, a large grin plastered on his face. The young teacher sighed. "Dealing with children like Kazu is so worth more than minimum wage," she thought before speaking. "Kazu, no matter how many times you ask that question, I will answer it with the same thing. School will not and never be closed unless there will be some sort of apocalyptic crisis," Ms. Yasagi said. A/N. "And yet school still continued when the D-Reaper attacked Shinjuku, which I found to be confusing." "Aw shucks," Kazu whined as he slumped back into his chair. "Now then, as I was saying, the announcement is that the principal has allowed my class and I, along with Mr. Toshiaki Mori's class and his class, to go on a camping field trip for the next 2 days, starting tomorrow. I have the papers that tell you what you will need to bring for the 2 days, and also your parents will have to sign the permission slip attached to the sheet at the bottom of the itinerary," Ms. Seiji said. The class immediately became excited, but just as quickly became silent as Ms. Yasagi slammed her giant textbooks on the desk. Again. "Ms. Seiji? Hi Takato, I was just wondering, what we'll be doing on the trip?" Takato asked. After training with Naruto, it had become almost second nature to the goggle-wearing Tamer to know just what he was dealing with. After all, in battle you must study the opponent, and know what he/she is and how they fight. Apparently camping trips applied to this particular application of study in Takato's mind. "Takato, the activities are located on your itinerary sheets. Any more questions?" she asked. The class was silent as they cast glances around the room, which caused Ms. Seiji to smile. "Good, now then, if you turn to page 67 of your history books," she was interrupted as the door of her classroom was knocked on. The class and teacher turned to look at the door. "Come in," Ms. Seiji called out. The door lid open to reveal a familiar face to a Seiji. "Mr. Kazuma, what are you doing here?" she asked. The glasses-wearing teacher waved to the class before walking up to her. Yes, Ms. Seiji, listen. One of my students had seen the paper advertising the camping trip tomorrow morning, and one of my students wanted to know if would be able to join," the brown-haired educator said. Ms. Seiji nodded but frowned. "It would be able to be done, but won't you have to teach your class, Mr. Kazuma?" she asked, adjusting her bangs simultaneously. "Actually, I can't. My Oba-chan is in the hospital. She fell down the last few stairs and dislocated her shoulder and also had a heart attack. Lucidly, my cousin was staying with her, so the family and I are going to see her." "Oh my, that's terrible. Is she alright?" Ma, she's okay. Oba-chan is a tough old bird. Anyways, due to this predicament I will not be able to teach. I have informed the principal, and he said that my class does not have to come to school tomorrow. Anyways, is my student allowed to join the camping trip?" Mr. Kazuma asked, adjusting his rectangular framed glasses. Ms. Seiji nodded. "Of course, I'll just need his name and—" "No need, he can tell you himself. You can come in now," Mr. Kazuma called out into the hallway. Everyone turned and waited a few seconds, but no one came in. Mr. Kazuma frowned and looked out into the hallway to see his student texting on his cell phone. "You can come in now." The student pressed send on his touchscreen phone before pocketing it. The boy followed his teacher, and the others gasped or looked confused as they saw who it was. "Naruto, what are you doing here?" Takato asked. Naruto smirked, and he waved to the young reddish-brown-eyed boy. "Well, as Mr. Kazuma was explaining to Ms. Seiji just now, I am interested in joining the camping trip tomorrow," Naruto said with his foxy grin spread across his face. "Well, Naruto, you have my permission as well as Mr. Kazuma's by the looks of things, so I guess you won't need a permission slip," Ms. Seiji said before taking out the itinerary sheet. "Here's the list of things you should bring with you for the 2-day trip as well as the activities we will be doing." The blonde nodded and took the sheet. "Arigato, Ms. Asagi before he turned and left the class with Mr. Kazuma pausing as he turned to Takato and spoke a silent message to him. The brown-haired preteen understood the look in Naruto's eyes. If you bring Dorman, watch him carefully A/N. If I could communicate through eye contact, migraines would be a thing of the past. With Rika. Rika was as bored as hell as she stared at her teacher. The man was explaining the laws of Sir Isaac Newton, in which Rika was slightly paying attention to as she was still thinking about the date she and Naruto had 3 days ago. Naruto had been busy after that night's school, keeping up his cover that he was not an extraterrestrial visitor from another universe, since some people had accused him of being the boy who ran up the side of a building or ran by them at speeds humans should not be capable of. Having told her of these things when they managed the few seconds of conversation they had before he had to run to make sure Dorman didn't eat all the ramen, he managed to weasel his way out by using his quick thinking and excuses. Also, he was being hounded by the paparazzi since they recognized him from his date with the daughter of the famous fashion model. Per Naruto, she thought. Her phone vibrated in the pocket of her uniform skirt. She looked down at her pocket, and then up at her teacher who was writing an equation on the board. She quickly took out her cell phone and pressed the center button. The screen became filled with light and color before she clicked the messages icon. From Naruto, she thought as she opened it and began reading. Gomen for avoiding you these past few days. With the accusations and the paparazzi hounding me, you'd think they would have something better to do, lol. Anyways, I am allowed to go on a 2-day camping trip with Takato's and Henry's classes for tomorrow and the day after that. I was wondering if you would be able to tag along. Ask your Oba-chan, Seiko-san, if you are able to come. Your Oka-chan will probably want to know also since you told she's been with you since our little get-together, winky face. Reply when you can, smiley face. Love you Rika-chan, winky face. Naruto. Rika blushed lightly at the love part. She knew he was teasing her, but couldn't help but think that he meant it. She began to reply when a loud voice filled the room. Rika Nanaka. Rika's head shot up from resting it on the desk, so as to make it appear she was sleeping. Hi Mr. Tashinoka? She asked. What are you doing sleeping in my class? If you do it again, I will have to send you to the principal's office. If you weren't one of my best students, Rika, I would make you feel mental stress like you wouldn't believe, he said. You're causing the stress right now, asshole, she thought with a slight roll of her eyes. Hi, Mr. Tashinoka, she replied before taking her pencil case and resting it against her hands so as to conceal her phone as she replied to Naruto. Hi, I understand your pain, Naruto, lol. Sure, I'll ask Oba-chan if I can go. See you when I can. Love you too, Whiskers, winky face, Rika. She sent the message before pocketing the phone and returning to the lesson that she was currently trying to understand. What the hell is a Pascal? She thought. Time skip after school. So guys, are you excited about the field trip? Henry asked as he walked alongside Naruto and Takato. Terriermon was with Suzy, so the commentating Digimon left room for pauses in between the conversation, for once. Yeah, I mean I've never been in the forest before. It must be so cool. Seeing all sorts of animals and stuff. I wonder if any Digimon are in the forest? Takato said. The eldest of the 3 Tamers chuckled. Well, Takato, the woods can sometimes be a bit disappointing and not meet your expectations, Naruto said. Also, I was wondering that myself. Digimon tend to be in the populated areas, but I wondered if there were any outside of Shinjuku? Naruto wondered. The trio was silent, until Henry decided to break the ice. So Naruto, is your beloved Rika-chan coming with us on the field trip too? Henry asked, earning snickers from himself and Takato. Naruto shrugged. I don't know, she replied to my text and told me she had to ask Seiko-san first. He replied, who's Seiko-san? Her Oba-chan. The 2 preteens nodded in understanding before they split up. Remember Naruto, 7 o'clock tomorrow. Henry reminded the blonde. Naruto nodded to the Asian tamer before heading back around the corner to reach Karyu Street where his apartment resided. When Naruto reached the apartment complex, he climbed the stairs to the floor where his apartment was. As he walked, he wasn't watching where he was going as he was looking for the key in his pocket. As a result, he collided with another, and both went tumbling to the ground. Watch where you're going, you little. The voice stopped as Naruto looked up at the person. Naruto's blue eyes stared into violet gray as he stood to his full height. Rika-chan, what are you doing here? He asked. Rika had already finished school and had changed into her regular street clothes. She smirked at him. Well, I was going to tell you I could go to the field trip thing with you, but you weren't home, so I was about to leave. Anyway, seeing as you're here, I got permission from Oba-chan to go on the field trip. She said she would lie to my teacher for me telling him I have a bad case of the flu. Oka-chan just became annoying again about how I'm so hopelessly in love with you and all that stuff, Rika said, rolling her eyes at the part about Makino. Naruto chuckled. Well, aren't you Rika-chan? He asked. Rika's face became filled with shock before Naruto simply smirked and walked past her, but not before capturing her lips with his own. He then spun her out of his arms and winked at her before going up to the door of his apartment. What was that for? She asked. Naruto opened the door and turned to her, a foxy grin plastered upon his face. Well, isn't it natural for a boy to kiss the girl he dates? We are together now, aren't we? He asked. Rika nodded and smirked. I believe so. Good. Well, see you tomorrow then, Rika-chan, and then he entered the apartment, shutting the door behind him. Rika walked away, a confused look on her face before it changed to happiness. She released a fangirl squeal and jumped up and down from sheer happiness before going down the stairs to leave the apartment complex. I'm his girlfriend, Naruto-kun's girlfriend, she thought. Inside the apartment, Naruto had just rested his bag on the ground before looking around for his partners. He found Gatomon and Dorman lying down on the couch watching an episode of Digimon Adventure 02. Hey guys, he greeted the two. The two Digimon turned away and smiled at their tamer, turning off the television and running up to the blonde. Naruto, what's up? The ex-antibody holder asked. I hear you're quite the popular guy now. You've been shown a bit on the telly, the feline Digimon spoke. Oh, shut up, Gatomon. Oh, by the way, you guys will be posing as mine and Rika-chan's stuffed toys tomorrow. We've been allowed to go on a camping trip for 2 days with Takato and Henry, Naruto announced. No problem, Gatomon said, although I still hate the idea of degrading myself to the point of being a mindless stuffed toy. Come on, Gato-chan, it's for the good of the field trip, Dorman said to his feline girlfriend. I know, but that doesn't mean I'll like it. Well, maybe you two could be sealed in these 2 empty scrolls I have. I could then apply the use of Kuchio's no jutsu and summon you guys to the campsite, Naruto suggested. After much talking about the positives and negatives of the ideas, they agreed on the use of the Kuchio's no jutsu. However, Dorman began to speak. Are we really doing this for the fun of the trip, or are we going to secretly keep an eye on Gilman and the others while simultaneously looking for any devas that would appear in the unpopulated areas? A bit of all three, Naruto replied. Sweet, the two Digimon replied. Naruto smirked and shook his head before going to pack for the trip. I swear, those two are perfect for each other. The next day, 2 large buses, like the ones from when Naruto went on his field trip to the Digimon gaming factory, were lined up outside the school. Henry stood with Terriermon was resting on his head, keeping the stuffed toy act up until they reached the campsite. Henry looked around and spotted Naruto and Rika walking up to him. Naruto, Rika! He exclaimed. The blonde and red head walked over to the blue-haired boy. So, where's Dorman, Gatomon and Renamon? Renamon's going to be following us along the rooftops, Rika replied. Naruto patted 2 of the many pockets on his dark blue pants. Dorman and Gatomon are sealed into scrolls. I'm going to use Kuchio's no jutsu to summon them to the campsite when we arrive there, the blonde tamer answered. Oh yeah, you told me about those kind of things during training. That's where you summon something from another dimension, right? Henry asked. Naruto nodded. Looks like somebody has been paying attention during my training sessions. Naruto smirked and patted Henry on the shoulder. Now where's Takato? Rika asked, looking around the front of the school. As the trio turned to the left, they spotted the goggle-wearing tamer talking to Mrs. Seiji. Now what is he up to? Henry sighed. Maybe he's trying to sweet-talk the teacher into allowing Gilman to come along. The guy's huge, you know? Terriermon piped in. Naruto looked and then spied a group of students from Takato's class all forming a circle-like barrier around one individual. Naruto caught sight of a flash of red within the circle as well as the tail that flicked in and out of the barrier a few times. Well, there's your reason, Naruto said, pointing at them. Rika, Henry and Terriermon looked to see Gilman in the middle of the circle while Takato distracted Mrs. Seiji by asking her how the camera he had worked. After Gilman got on, Takato began to laugh. Don't worry, Mrs. Seiji, it didn't have any film in it anyway. I forgot, he admitted. He really did forget to put film, simply because it was a digital camera. I'm guessing Mrs. Seiji doesn't know that's a digital camera, which is why she bought it. Rika asked. Most likely, the 2 male tamers answered before climbing onto the buses. Kazu, Kenta, Jerry, Takato and one of Jerry's friends sat on top of Gilman so that Mrs. Seiji wouldn't see him until she sat down. Look guys, Calumet saved us some seats, Naruto pointed out. The cute little cream puff Digimon chuckled and waved to Naruto. Over here, Naruto! Naruto and Rika took those seats, sitting next to each other, while Henry took the one behind their chair. Mrs. Seiji stood up and looked around. Okay, everyone, this trip will be a few hours long, so until then please no rough housing on the bus. Please don't do anything that will hurt yourselves either. Mrs. Seiji then turned around and sat down and took out 2 earplugs, one for each ear. She sighed as the sound of loud students was immediately blocked out and replaced with silence before she drifted off to sleep. Ah, silence, sweet bliss and music to my aching ears, she thought, and began to snore lightly. Meanwhile, around her, students were chatting up a storm. Gilman was finally able to breathe since the combined weight of 5 growing 12-year-old children nearly crushed his spine and lungs. Takato, why are we here in the back? Gilman asked. So no one will see you, especially Mrs. Seiji. She might go insane if she saw you and might actually have to go to the psychiatric ward if she did, Takato said with a nervous laugh. Oh, Takato, what's a psychiatric ward? Takato sighed. This was going to be a long bus ride. Kenta suddenly grabbed a microphone that Mrs. Seiji had used to speak to the students and yelled out to the class. Hey guys, let's sing a song. Kenta yelled and began singing. I wanna rock and roll all night, he began to sing, and quite horribly. Naruto and Rika, who were busy talking to each other, froze as their ears nearly began to bleed. Will somebody please kill the cat that's dying already? He yelled. The bus became silent before bursting into laughter as Kenta slumped his shoulders. Do I really sound that bad? The glasses-wearing boy asked. Naruto got up, leaving Rika for a few seconds. He swiped the microphone from him and held it, gripped in his hands before running and opening the window where he and Rika were nearest to. He opened the glass/plastic shield before throwing the microphone out of the bus, and watched as it clattered on the road before it was crushed by the other bus, and then by 3 more cars, followed by a splotch of bird shit landing on it from the heavens. Per microphone, I knew thee well. I was going to continue singing though, Kenta whined. The older boy placed his hand on Kenta's shoulder. Kenta, is your name right? Naruto asked. The glasses-wearing boy nodded. Listen, Kenta, everyone has a talent and everyone has their faults, and singing is one of your biggest, most epic faults ever. Don't ever do that again so as to spare us all a reason to take something and jam it into our ears so as to block out the hideous sound of your voice, Naruto yelled. Gomen, Kenta. But it was time you knew. Naruto turned and left a frowning Kenta with the laughing of the rest of the class reaching his ears. So, Naruto-kun, are we really together now as in boyfriend/girlfriend kind of thing? She asked. Naruto held his hand in hers and smiled. Of course, why wouldn't we be? He asked. No reason, just making sure, she replied quickly with a slight blush. You know, you're cute when you blush, he whispered, causing her to blush a bit more. Shut up, she said, punching her newly proclaimed boyfriend in the shoulder. Itai, Rika-chan, that hurt. He frowned, mock sadness in his eyes. He then performed the kawaii no jutsu/puppy dog eyes. Calumet chuckled from the luggage area above and saw what Naruto was doing. Oh boy, funny face, Calumet said, and then flopped down on Naruto's head and joined in the fun of making Rika buckle under the pressure of 2 kawaii no jutsus. Rika remained stoic, but crumbled. Her iron will was melted into liquid state before she finally hugged the blonde. Gomen nasai, she mumbled. I knew I'd win. I always win with that, he said, earning himself another punch to the shoulder. The resto ride was then quiet as the class fell asleep. Rika had her head leaning on Naruto's shoulder, and the blonde's head was resting on her head, his arm enveloping her in a one-armed hug. Finally, the few hours had ended and the bus screeched to a halt, the hiss of the hydraulics filling the ears of the tired students, having just woken up. One of the students went and removed the earplugs from Mrs. Seiji's ears and woke her up. She quickly stood up before sitting back down from the head rush. Okay people, listen up, you will all split up into different sections. The girls are with me, the boys are with Mr. Mori. Also be sure to peg down your tents well, the winds tend to blow a bit stronger out here in the wild. Rika took her stuff and left with Mrs. Seiji, but not before pecking Naruto on the cheek. I'll see you after I finish setting up the tents, she said. Same here, the blonde replied. He sighed and took a deep breath of fresh air. Having lived in a metropolitan area filled with barely any nature, Naruto was in relief to be back out in the wild. Trees and vegetation filled the surroundings with a healthy green color. Naruto took out his scrolls and opened them before pumping chakra into both. Kuchios no jutsu, he yelled. Dorman and Gatomon appeared from the inside of the pocket dimension they were in. It's about time, we were starting to freeze in there, Dorman shivered. With no source of heat, the pocket dimension was a cold, dark void, so the 2 Digimon, having arrived in the same dimension, had to huddle together for warmth. Not that either of them complained about the snuggling, but the cold left a bit to be desired. Well, here we are, natural wildlife, Naruto said. He then told the 2 to go hide in the bushes until Mr. Mori left. They complied and the 2 Digimon partners quickly fled, peeking through the leaves though in order to monitor the area. So, where's Gilman? A voice asked. The 2 recognized the voice as Renmin's, and therefore did not react in any way that would have frightened the blonde Kitsune. No idea he was on the bus, but he disappeared. Dorman smelt the air before turning to the left. A large tree was blocking him, so the purple-furred dragon looked around the tree and found the large red dinosaur Digimon hiding poorly behind a bush that was obviously a bit too small to hide behind. "Gilman!" Gatomon whispered. Gilman's bat-like ears twitched before he turned and spotted his fellow Digimon, Dorman, Gatomon and Renamon. Gilman chuckled as he walked over to them. "You came. I thought it would have just been me, Terriermon and Caluman." "Hooray, more fun!" "Yeah, well, we're going to have to lay low until we do something that will allow us to leave the company of those chaperone teachers, or if it's night," Dorman said. Naruto sighed as he watched Mr. Mori attempt to put up another tent in order to impress Ms. Asagi with his wilderness survival skills, and those skills downright sucked. "Mr. Mori, are you sure you don't need help?" Takato, Henry and Naruto asked. The older man nodded, but the tent looked nothing like it did on the box. The tent poles were jutting out at wrong angles. Parts of it were on the verge of being torn, while Mr. Mori lay tangled in the wire used to aid in tying down the tent pegs. Naruto sighed before grabbing Mr. Mori by his hand and yanking him out. "You know, Mr. Mori, the other guys got their tents up just fine," he said, gesturing to the students' tents that were already up. "I'm sure we can do ours. You don't need to impress Ms. Asagi, and besides, even if you did, putting up a tent, not a good way to pick up a girl." "Naruto, please, I know what I'm doing," Mr. Mori said, but tripped on a wire and fell to the ground. Naruto sighed before finally taking over. He put up the cloth, used the poles to provide stability before pegging the corners down into the ground, and using the wire by tying each peg to one another to form a square borderline around the tent. "They're all done," Naruto said. Rika and Ms. Asagi had walked up during the time Mr. Mori had been decommissioned by Naruto, as the blonde had taken over the tent preparation. When the Jinchuriki Tamer finished, he turned to see the two females watching him with impressed looks. "I've camped out a lot. I could even forage off the land and get us some food. Anyone interested in deer and fish?" he asked. "No," the camp chorused. How did everyone hear that? He asked himself. "Or Kit, Kyubi, it's been a while? What's with the period of silence?" Naruto thought to his bijou. "It hasn't it? I haven't really been needed during your times to fight. I only help in certain parts of your battles, such as when we fought Mihiraman, and I gave you one tale of my power. Also, you haven't spoken to me. Your mate over there has kept you quite occupied along with the other Digimon that bioemerge." "Oh, hey, wait a minute, Rika-chan is not my mate!" Naruto yelled. "So you say. It's kind of sad though that these humans can't even survive off the land like we did back in our universe. They have become too reliant on technology. The only things worth building were the computers, cell phones, and the automatic fur scratcher / belly rubber / flea cleaner device. I could use one of those." "Yeah, why do you need a flea cleaner? You're made of chakra." "Chakra can't get fleas." "Who's the giant kitsune with fur?" "Is your name Kyubi no Kitsune, most powerful of the 9 bijou?" "No, I think not. Besides, you're related to a bunch of monkeys with only a 2% difference in DNA. Monkeys eat the damn fleas. Also, I am the one with fur. I think I would know if I had fleas." Naruto paused. The fox did have a point. "True, but humans are nothing like monkeys. That 2% difference is what makes us dominant. Besides, I have opposable thumbs. Take that, Kyubi. If you haven't noticed, I have a 5th claw too that acts as an opposable thumb, you retarded, hairless monkey." "Kyuso, I thought I would have gotten you with the opposable thumbs bit," Naruto thought. Naruto, Ms. Asagi called out to the blonde, who had been staring for a while, and his gaze was a bit below her neck, meaning he was looking at her. "Naruto, goddamn, answer me!" Naruto's head shot up and his eyes became focused. "Huh, who, what, where?" He frantically searched around, grabbing Rika bridal style and hiding behind a tree for cover as a part of reflex. The 2 teachers and the 3 younger Tamers looked at the teenage Jinchuriki with confused looks. "Gomen, reflex action. While I was camping, I've nearly been mauled by raccoons and other furry creatures. Had to keep my guard up and improve my reflexes," he explained. Mr. Mori and Ms. Asagi bought it and nodded before making an announcement. "Okay, people, listen up." Ms. Asagi pulled a megaphone out from her backpack. "Are you all finished putting up your tents?" she asked. "Hi, Ms. Asagi." The children chorused. "Good, because now we are going to go for a little swim in the nearby river if anyone's interested." The class immediately agreed, for the sun was blazing down on them like it wanted to turn them into cooked eggs on the sidewalk. After changing into their swimsuits, the boys and girls quickly set off with their teacher supervisors, who had also changed and headed for the river. As the class went towards the river, Naruto tilted his head as he viewed Rika's ass from another angle of his perspective. The red-haired girl turned and noticed this out of the corner of her eye. She smirked and winked at the blonde, who grinned cheekily and made an OK sign. Upon reaching the river, the boys shed their t-shirts before they joined the girls in just their swimsuits as they plunged into the refreshingly cold waters of the still, calm river. A game of chicken was then ensued, with Naruto and Rika against any opposing challenger. The duo was assuring victory over Kenta and Kazu before Takato and Jerry decided to try their luck. Naruto smirked at Takato, who were carrying their teammates on their shoulders. "Give up, Takato, you cannot defeat us. If you strike me down, I will come more powerful than before," Takato said. "You need to stop watching Star Wars," Rika inquired as she recognized the line was from Obi-Wan Kenobi in Episode 4, A New Hope. "Hey, it's a good show, Naruto," and Takato retorted in defense. The game ensued with Rika and Naruto obviously becoming the victors. The four Tamers were then drying themselves off as they watched Mr. Mori attempt to rub sunscreen on Mrs. Sagai's back, and, failing as he was grabbed by his arm and with a surprising feat of skill and strength, the female educator threw her fellow educator over her shoulder and into the freezing waters of the river. Wow was all that everyone who had seen the wrath of Mrs. Sagai could say. Henry and Takato were sitting by the edge of the river while Naruto and Rika rested next to each other under the shade of a tree. They were a good few meters away from the rest of the group so as to keep the Digimon, who were currently playing a game of tag in the river, out of their range of sight. Gatomon being the only one out of water since cats naturally hate water. However, just in case, Naruto casted a low-level genjutsu to surround the Digimon in order to hide them from the sight of the other students and the two teachers, as well to make the splashing seem like Takato and Henry were the cause of it. "Such a bunch of losers you guys are," Immon said as the scarf-wearing Digimon appeared on a branch. The Tamers and their Digimon stopped playing as they glanced up at the rookie-level Digimon. "Oh, hey Immon," the group said with distaste. Gilman looked at the fellow rookie and noticed something in the annoyed, angry look of Immon's eyes. Loneliness. "Oi, Immon, wanna play with us?" Gilman asked. Why would I play with you freaks?" Immon asked with a flabbergasted look on his pale white face. "Because it's fun. I bet you wouldn't be so grouchy if you had someone to play with," Gilman said. Everyone looked at the red-scaled dinosaur. What the hell? Immon thought. Since when did Gilman seem so insightful? The others thought. No way I'm gonna play with losers like you, bada boom. Immon commented before turning his back. "So a loser," Dorman said. Immon froze before turning back to face them. "You think I can't win a game of tag with you Digibakas? Well, I'll show you, badabum." Immon jumped headfirst into the waters and chased after the others. Naruto watched Immon, studying the Digimon's face, and noticed the smirk that formed. "Seems Gilman was right," he mumbled. "What was Gilman right about?" Rika asked her boyfriend. "Immon really is alone. Unlike the other Digimon, Immon seems to have been alone in the real world his entire life. But the loathing of humans shows that he actually had a human partner. But they probably didn't treat him right." Naruto sighed. "Well, at least someone understands, because I sure don't," Rika said. Naruto chuckled before he bent down and kissed Rika, earning a few whistles from some of the Digimon-aware students that were watching. Naruto smirked during the kiss before looking up at the whistling and cheering students before sticking his tongue out playfully. After a few minutes the Digimon climbed out. Immon turned to leave, but was stopped as he heard his name. "Immon, where are you going?" Naruto asked. "Well, I'm done playing games with you Bakas. I'm going for a walk to clear my head. I have to think about some things," the midget Digimon said. Naruto nodded and let the Digimon go. "Amina, wanna go for a walk?" Naruto asked his friends. The others nodded. Rinamon appeared from her tree as she didn't go swimming and nestled down on the grass. "Sure," the gang chorused. Naruto nodded and then looked to Mrs. Sagai before running up to her. "Mrs. Sagai, Rika-chan, Takato, Henry and I are going for a little walk in the woods," he said. "Nanny, are you crazy? You could get lost?" The teacher said with a surprised look. "Don't worry, I camped here a few times with my uncle when I was younger. I know this place like the back of my hand," he lied, showing the foxy grin for good measure for her to buy his lie. Mrs. Sagai frowned, but complied in the end. "Alright, fine, but be back by." Mrs. Sagai grabbed Naruto's arm and looked at his watch. "Be back by sunset. I don't want to lose you for." "Understood, Mrs. Sagai." Naruto gave a mock salute, earning a chuckle from the older woman before the blonde turned and left. "Strange boy, I like him." As the group wandered through the woods, their Digimon in tow, they came out of the edge of the forest and found themselves by a cliff where a rope bridge hung over a deep gorge. Gilman smirked as he spotted a tree stump and did a handstand. "Amina, look, I'm doing it." "I'm standing on my hands," Gilman cheered. The others chuckled as the other Digimon began to join the Tower of Digimon. Atop Gilman's feet, Dorman also did a handstand, balancing on Gilman's feet. Gatomon landed feet first with cat-like grace atop Dorman's own feet before holding out her arms. Renamon stood on the feline Digimon's hands, and then Terriermon balanced on the fox Digimon's head using his extremely long ear, while Calliamon stood on Terriermon's foot. The weight of several Digimon nearly caused Gilman to lose his balance, but he managed. "Well, this is nice, isn't it?" Henry asked. "Well, think we should go back now?" Rika asked. Takato frowned. "Are you crazy? And ruin this perfectly good totem pole," he said, gesturing to the tower of Digimon that suddenly began to wobble. Naruto took out his cell phone and took a picture of the Digimon totem pole. He smirked as he looked at the picture. "Nice shot if I do say so myself." The other Tamers looked at the picture and agreed. "Picture time!" Takato yelled and swiped the phone. Naruto growled at Takato as the goggle-wearing Tamer took a picture of Naruto glaring at him. However, his glare was suddenly replaced with deer in the headlight's eyes as Rika kissed him on the lips. Takato snapped the shot, and again when Naruto returned the kiss. Henry took the camera this time and turned to take a picture as the totem pole of Digimon collapsed. In the shot it showed the tangling of many limbs as the Digimon fell onto the ground. Many other pictures were taken with Naruto's phone, one of him standing with his badass mode as he folded his arms and looked over the gorge from atop a tree and a serious look on his face. Another was with Gilman having a staring contest with Calliamon, and then one where Calliamon shifted and began to have a contest with a rock. There was another with Calliamon by himself and a big smile on his face, ears expanded. Another was with Naruto and Henry having a sparring match with each other, followed by a picture of Terriermon and Renamon smirking and giving a thumbs up as they watched Dorman and Gatomon make out. Another picture was with an enraged Gatomon about to swipe at Terriermon's frightened face while Dorman tried to hold his girlfriend back, although the reluctance could be seen in his face after all the dog bunny was spying on them. The last one being taken by a cage bunshin Naruto made to take a picture of the entire group. Gilman was lying down flat, a toothy smile present on the reptile virus Digimon's face as Calliamon rested atop his head. Renamon was kneeling next to Rika, who was sitting next to Naruto, leaning her head on his shoulder, both with smiles on their faces just as the rest of the group did. Dorman and Gatomon were in the same position as Naruto and Rika except were sitting in front of the two Tamers. Henry was sitting cross-legged next to Terriermon, who was resting on his shoulder on the far right, while Takato took his place next to Gilman. "Okay guys, say Digimon. Digimon!" The phone's camera let loose a flash of white light as the timer for the picture to be taken went off, and the cage bunshin looked at the picture before handing it back to his creator, and then dispelled himself. Naruto pocketed his phone and looked at the sky. The sky was still blue, but the faint wisps of red and yellow and pink began to bleed into it as the sun was about to sink below the horizon, which was visible from the cliff they were watching. "Okay guys, time to head back," Naruto ordered. "I promised Mrs. Seiji we'd be back by sunset." The group nodded, but frowned. "I was having fun," Calliamon and Gilman complained. "You weren't the only one," everyone responded to their whining as they were also reluctant to leave. As the group began to walk through the woods, following the slashes on the side of trees Naruto had made with his kunai on the way, their diarchs began to beep. Everyone took out their diarchs, Naruto taking out Doraemon's reddish-violet Democrat Arkansas. The holographic compass appeared, the red arrow swirled around the blue field of data it rested upon before facing to the north where they had just come from. "Another Digimon? Think it's a Dava?" Henry asked. "We'll have to see." "Come on," Rika said, and the group followed the lone female of the Tamers until they reached a tree that the compass was pointing at. The Tamer looked around the tree before looking up at the branches of the tree. A small digital field formed as the Digimon formed. They all sweat dropped at what came from the digital portal. "You can't be serious?" Rika said. The Digimon was in form of a small metallic rooster made of gold and metal. The chest area was blue with 2 golden circles on the pectoral area along with a few black symbols on the blue armor. Its wings were tucked in and a scarf was worn around its neck. The rooster's crest was made of red feather, and its tail was a rainbow of colors as it flowed behind the newly arrived Digimon. "Why is there a chicken in the woods?" Naruto asked. "I was thinking the same thing," Dorman and Gatomon said. "I'm not getting anything on my Democrat Arkansas," Henry added. "Same here," Rika and Takato, failing to receive any information on the Digimon. "Well, it's pretty small, so we should leave it alone." "Let's go back to camp," Naruto said. The group nodded and turned to head back when suddenly the rooster's eyes glowed crimson and a nearby owl whose large black eyes became filled with the same crimson color. The owl twisted its head and looked at the Tamer and Digimon as they walked away. "I assure you I am no chicken," the owl said in voice that was similar to that of a wannabe ghost. The Tamers and their Digimon were too far away, however, as the owl had spoken. The rooster Digimon seemed to frown at his owl medium. "Why does everyone always leave when I'm about to speak?" the rooster thought, voicing it through the owl. However, during the night the Digimon got up and growled, alerting their tamers. What's up, Dorman Gataman? Naruto asked as his waking up also caused Rika to rise. Renamon? There's something wrong, Terriermon said, and the Digimon quickly took off towards the forest. Their tamers, in their pajamas and their sneakers without socks on their feet, began to follow the Digimon into the depths of the foliage. They continued to follow Gilman, Doraemon, Gataman, Terriermon, Renamon and Calumet until they reached the rope bridge. The Digimon paused, taking a sniff of the air as the wind shifted before crossing the bridge. The Tamers followed their hyperactive Digimon across the bridge before reaching the edge where a metal fence was put up so people could watch from a cliff side the tall buildings of Shinjuku. The lights acted as flashing colors to brighten up the darkened sky until the Digimon and their tamers paused in their run to see the chicken Digimon from earlier. Well, what the hell is wrong with you guys? It's just the chicken from earlier, Naruto said. Yeah, calm down, Henry said. Momenti? The Digimon stared at the metallic piece of poultry, and everyone stared in awe as the two metal discs on its chest suddenly glowed with yellow light. The light stretched out over the body of water that separated Shinjuku from the forested area where the group was currently residing. The lights of Shinjuku suddenly began to shift between colored and pitch black before remaining in darkness. A blackout. The electricity traveled through the air and struck the giant rooster. It then shifted its head and turned to face the tamers. The owl it had possessed earlier appeared, glowing red eyes staring into their own. Then they looked to see the small little rooster begin to grow in size as electricity poured into its body through the two metal discs on its chest. The rooster let out a cry of triumph after absorbing the electricity before cock-a-doodle-doodling at the children and their Digimon. The Dava shall destroy you all, the owl screeched in its wannabe ghost voice. You possessed a poor defenseless owl, what the hell is wrong with you? Naruto asked the giant chicken, causing everyone in the vicinity to sweat drop. Well, I can only communicate through this owl or basically any other type of bird here since I am made of metal and cannot really speak that well, the newly pronounced Dava said. Naruto sighed. It's late, did you really have to suck out the electricity in Shinjuku? Naruto asked. Yes, the rooster Dava replied. Well, I want to do it tomorrow, we'll fight then, okay? No, I will not be denied again. The rooster crowed. I have always been looked down as one of the weakest of the Dava, but now I shall. The rooster's speech was ruined as Dorman and Gataman charged forward and grabbed the rooster Dava and flung it into a tree before attacking with Hyper Dash Metal and Nico Kick. The Dava flew through several trees and crashed into a boulder as it fell unconscious. I'm going back to bed, I'm not suited for this kind of shit, Naruto and his partners mumbled before they headed back to the campsite. The others stared at the destruction caused by the feline and furred reptile Digimon before following Naruto, Dorman and Gataman back to the campsite. He's right though, we're not suited for the shit that just happened, they all thought. As they arrived back in the campsite, they had all immediately fallen back to sleep. Calumet lay down with Naruto and Rika, who were laying down next to Gataman and Dorman. However, one thought coursed through Calumet's mind before he fell asleep. What is shit? He thought. Hypnos HQ. Yamaki, there's been a sudden blackout. Luckily our emergency power generator was able to respond quickly enough so that we didn't lose our data, Riley said. Yamaki played with his cigarette lighter and nodded. Good, make sure to find the source of that blackout though. Apparently we might be one of the few buildings in Shinjuku with power right now, Yamaki said. Riley nodded and quickly began to type away on her colorful keyboard. I really should get a raise, the red-haired woman thought with a yawn. The next day, the group had awoken and Nami and Mori were busy waking up the rest of the students. Kazu and Kento were standing outside the tent that Gilman was sharing with them and Takato. Boys, is Takato awake? Nami Asagi asked. The two Digimon fanatics nodded. Hi, Ms. Asagi. He's just changing is all, Kazu said. The brown-haired female teacher nodded before moving on. Naruto and Rika walked out of their tents, having taken turns to change, with one standing outside the tent they shared as the other changed into their clothes. Okay, well, it seems that this will be heading back later this evening, Naruto told his girlfriend. Rika nodded. Yeah, it has actually been a bit fun. What do you think happened to that giant chicken from yesterday though? She asked. The blonde shrugged his shoulders and yawned. Calumet, who was resting atop Naruto's head, yawned also. Don't know, don't care, he replied before walking up to the group of Henry, Terriermon, Takato, Kenta, Kazu and Jerry. Konnichiwa, Minasan, the two greeted their friends. Konnichiwa, Naruto, Rika. The others, except Kazu, having developed a disliking for both Naruto and Rika, replied. The group began to converse with each other before Mr. Mori and Ms. Asagi got the entire group of children's attention. Alright people, listen up, Mr. Mori shouted, which was a surprise since he never took charge before. Okay, we'll be leaving to go home by 6 o'clock this evening. The buses will have arrived by then, so until then please continue to enjoy yourselves and please don't wander off so that none of you are left behind. Wouldn't that be a miracle for my life, Mrs. Sagi mumbled. A less amount of students to teach. Her eyes became full of bliss as she imagined a life without teaching, but apparently she couldn't get a good job in her current reality, and had to suffer the art of educating. Not that it had its interesting and fun moments, but you get her point. The teachers and the other children nodded to each other before leaving to go and integrate with one another. Okay, I'm going to go and see if that chicken Dava is still around, Naruto said. Actually, it's a rooster. Rooster, chicken, it doesn't matter, it's a stupid piece of poultry. Anyways, wanna come? He asked the others, who readily agreed. Jerry, Kenta and Kazu decided to tag along to see how Digimon fought. The group trekked through the forest, Naruto, Dorman and Gatomon holding the lead as the others followed. Remind me again, why we are following him? Kazu asked Takato. Because, in a way, Naruto is our leader. He made the tough decisions that aided in our battles and helped us train. Besides, he's stronger than the rest of us. So you're saying, Naruto is your leader? Kenta asked. Takato nodded. Pretty messed up leader if you asked me, Kazu mumbled, only to have his head in extreme pain as Rika slammed her fist into his skull. Urasai, you don't say anything about Naruto-kun, understood? Kazu whimpered on the ground and managed to say hi before steadily climbing to his feet. The group continued to walk until they heard a loud crowing sound. That must be the chicken, rooster, Dava, Rika said. Well, let's go then, Takato said. The Tamers, their Digimon, and the three regular people ran towards the sound of crowing and trees being sent to the ground before arriving in a clearing where the sky was visible to all, and they saw the Dava flying in the air as it watched another tree fall to the ground. What chicken? Dorman called out. The rooster turned and glared at the Tamers below. You! The rooster crowed, his owl medium appearing again to speak for him. You shall pay for messing with the Dava of Baihoman. Prepare to die, humans and Digimon filth who choose to follow them. Dear Kami-sama, he sounds like he wants to commit human genocide, Henry said. Maybe that's the point of them being here, to wipe us all out, Kenta said, his knees wiggling like jelly. Don't worry, Kenta, we have Naruto right here. He'll protect us, he said, putting his hand on Naruto's shoulder. Don't touch me, causing the visor-wearing preteen to retract his appendage. The Tamers then had Jerry, Kenta and Kazu stand back before taking out their Diarchs. Having taken out his first, Henry was able to scan the Digimon. An image of the Digimon appeared in holographic form as well as a small amount of information. Alright guys, I got some info on him. This is Cinderman, an ultimate level Digimon and a Dava like the others. He follows the Digimon Sovereign Baihoman. His attacks are Positron Pulse and Bao Chu, Henry read. Interesting. Baihoman sure is crazy if he picked this guy as a follower, Gatomon said as she looked at the overgrown rooster. I am not a chicken, I am a rooster. A rooster! Cinderman screeched as his body was suddenly filled with electrical energy. He must not like the chicken who crossed the road, Jokteriormon said. Positron Pulse. A large blast of lightning shot out from the body of Cinderman and rocketed towards the Tamers. Gatomon quickly jumped in front of the group and her claws glowed white. Lightning Paw! Her training with Naruto seemed to pay off, as the white energy surrounding her paws began to intensify and formed an aura in the shape of large claws before slashing the lightning and diverting its path, causing burn mark to form on the ground below. Okay guys, let's do this. Naruto yelled, taking out Dorman's Democrat Arkansas as he pocketed Gatomon's, which he had earlier. The other Tamers nodded and they all took out the same card. Digimodify, Digivolution activate, they yelled. The card was swiped through the slit on the side of their Diarchs. The card's ability was scanned and transferred to the respective Digimon. Digivolution. Dorman Digivolve 2, Renamon Digivolve 2, Gilman Digivolve 2, Terrierman Digivolve 2. Each of the Digimon began to glow with red light as they changed into their champion forms. Calliuman's crimson triangle glowed. The spiraling eggs of data that surrounded each Digimon exploded as they revealed their Digivolved forms. Darugamon, Cubimon, Grolmon, Gargamon, the 5 champion-level Digimon stood to face off against Cinderman, who seemed to sweat sparks of electricity. No one shall defeat me. Positron Pulse. The attack flew towards them and contacted with the ground as they all avoided them. Cubimon quickly spun in the air and the large dragon of blue flame flew towards the rooster Dava. Cinderman dodged the attack before swooping down and grabbing Cubimon by her forelimbs and throwing her into a tree. A large amount of green bullets mixed with 3 large fireballs were fired from Gargamon and Growlmon, respectively, and nearly struck him. But the Dava twisted in mid-air, and then released a blast of lightning that struck the two before performing a back flip in the air, and the Bao Chu that rested on his back suddenly floated as it was held up by arms of lightning and struck Juggernaut, who had tried a sneak attack from behind and sent the dragon careening through the sky. The rooster then turned and screeched, causing Juggernaut, who tried to slam a Nico kick to the chin, failed as the screech disoriented her, and then the rooster slammed the Bao Chu down on the feline Digimon, sending Juggernaut to the ground. That hurt, dude, Juggernaut whined. Well, I wasn't sent here by the Sovereign One to be nice, Cinderman then screeched before striking out with the Bao Chu and was completely on the offensive. Cinderman quickly flung the Bao Chu and threw it like boomerang as it twisted in the air and curved so as to try and hit all of them. However, alt-hot, everyone managed to duck. Juggernaut was unsuccessful and was hit across the head. Juggernaut growled and opened his mouth. Power metal! He cried, and the steel sphere rocketed through the air, but was halted as Cinderman was coated in an aura of electricity, freezing it due to the magnetic field produced by the lightning. Too bad, Bakok. Cinderman flung the power metal attack back to his owner, and struck the dragon, sending him through a tree, causing it to fall. The rooster Dava screeched in pain suddenly as Naruto rammed a Rasengan into his back. Rasengan! Naruto cried. The cyborg chicken was sent downwards, but managed to spread his wings and catch himself before he hit the ground. However, this gave everyone the opening they had. Cubimon quickly spread out her 9 tails, and each one became alight with a ball of ghostly blue flames. Foxtail Inferno! And the 9 fireball crashed into the body of the follower of Baihoman. Then Growlmon appeared behind the flying Digimon, and his elbow blades glowed electric blue. Dragon Slash! Growlmon yelled and struck the rooster Dava before spinning and slamming his muscular tail into the rooster's body. Growlmon followed up by punching Cinderman in the beak, and then opened his maw. Pyro Blaster! Positron Pulse! The lightning tore through the fireball and struck Growlmon, sending over 1,000 volts through the large dinosaur's body. Cinderman suddenly began to make a comeback as Cubimon tried to strike at him with a dragon wheel. The rooster summoned the Bao Chu and it struck through the dragon and nailed Cubimon in the muzzle as it flew back into the arms of lightning he made to hold it, and then ducked beneath a bunny pummel from Gargamon. Foolish bunny, BOCHU! The large weapon glowed with electricity before it struck the trigger-happy rabbit and sent Gargamon into the fallen form of Growlmon. Cinderman chuckled before forming a large ball of electricity in front of him. Positron Pulse! The large electric attack soared through the sky, but was suddenly countered when a large metal sphere clashed with it, causing a small explosion. Gatomon now! Juggernaut roared. Gatomon was in the air and behind Cinderman, a smirk on her face. Digimodify, Saberliaman activate! Naruto yelled, swiping a card through Gatomon's Democrat Arkansas. Howling Crusher! She yelled and her claws became enveloped in a glowing orange light that struck the Dava. She then dove down after the Dava like a missile. Digimodify, Flamedraman activate! Naruto cried out as Gatomon became encased in orange flames. Fire Rocket! Gatomon cried out and shot off towards the falling Dava. However, she was halted as the Bao Chu obscured her vision, sending her flying back. She flipped in the air and righted herself to land on her feet. Juggernaut then appeared and slashed at Cinderman, causing 3 large and long claw markings to appear on the metallic chest of the poultry like Dava. You cannot defeat me. I am invincible, Cinderman roared through his owl before diving down and striking Juggernaut in the chest. But then Gargamon and Growlmon, who had recovered, tried to provide assistance. Pyro Blaster, Gargo Laser! The 2 attacks collided with Cinderman, sending him skidding along the air before he screeched. Positron Pulse! Oh no you don't, Foxtail Inferno! Cubimon yelled and her fireballs collided with the lightning blasts before it could hurt her friends. Then Gatomon kicked Cinderman in the back before dropping down and rolling underneath his floating body, and then performed lightning paw in the form of an uppercut. Gatomon then jumped up and kicked Cinderman in the side of his face, and using the momentum from her kick, she managed to rotate and slam her heel against the back of Cinderman's head. Digimodify, Power Activate! Henry yelled. Gargamon jumped and grabbed Cinderman between his Gatling guns and slammed the Dava into the ground, causing a decent-sized crater before throwing him up. Naruto smirked and decided just this once to pull a rip-off on this move. Naruto appeared beneath the floating rooster Dava and smirked, poking Cinderman on his back. Let's see you get out of this, Naruto spoke to the follower of the Tiger of the West. Naruto quickly channeled chakra into his limbs to enhance their power and endurance, as he spun and a kick slammed into the side of the dropping duo of human and Digimon. Naruto then used momentum from the kick to rotate and crash his other leg into the stomach of Cinderman, earning a painful squawk. from the Digimon. Naruto then punched Cinderman in the face before twisting again and slammed his foot into the stomach of Cinderman just as they were a few feet off the ground, causing Cinderman to slam into the ground with what would be back-breaking force. Sure Renden / Lion's Barrage. Naruto roared as he planted the final blow, and then jumped away. Cinderman squawked with anger as he managed to stand. This is not over yet, Cinderman screeched and then flapped. But due to the indent of Naruto's foot and the dents in his body, he was rather beat up looking and his feathers were all ruffled up. However, the Dava was given no chance as the Digimon Tamers struck out full force. Digimodify, they all yelled and swiped the same card, Power Activate. Power coursed through the veins of the digital monsters and charged the ultimate level Digimon. Cubamon ran up and spun on her back limbs as he fire-coated tails from a not yet launched Foxtail Inferno crashed into Cinderman. Foxtail Inferno. The 9-tailed Kitsune Digimon cried out before she let loose the fireballs, sending the rooster caroning through the air to meet a bunny pummel from Gargamon. Gargo Laser. And the multiple green bullets blasted into the damaged metallic poultry with explosive force. The Gargo Laser attack sent Cinderman towards Zhuqiaomon, whose elbow protrusion were glowing brightly with energy. Double Dragon Slash. And the blades of energy were slammed into Cinderman's back, sending the rooster upwards as a fireball trailed behind him. Pyro Blaster. And the comet-like fireball sent Cinderman further upwards to Gatomon, who was atop Digimon. Gatomon jumped and flipped in the air several times. She then felt her speed increase as Naruto used the speed modify card. Gatomon smirked. With power and speed she did an attack that only Rock Lee was capable of, except on a lower scale. She batted the chicken through the air using Nico Kick and Lightning Paw before using Lightning Paw to send Cinderman downwards. Digimodify, Electric Rope Activate. Gatomon suddenly held a rope of pure electric charge in her hand which was wrapped around Cinderman and pulled him back up. The electricity was absorbed into his body as he reached the feline. But the electricity build-up wouldn't do any good as Gatomon slammed both her right claw and leg into Cinderman's stomach. Ninpu Hijitsu, Yura Range / Ninja Art Secret Technique, Hidden Lotus. She yelled and sent the Dava downwards, and a shockwave resulted as Gatomon's attack broke the sound barrier before it even made contact with the Digimon. A black blur then flew past the falling Dava. Digimon rested Gatomon on the ground before looking at Naruto. Digimodify, Baihoman Kongu. Naruto swiped the card containing the power of the Sovereign of Steel. Silver energy surrounded Digimon as the dragon flexed his claws. The image of a large tiger was visible to all before Digimon roared and then took off with a powerful flap of his wings and slashed Cinderman, who then met the ground. Digimon and the other watched as the tiger-shaped aura vanished from his figure, and then Cinderman suddenly began to change color. His metallic chest, in fact his whole body, became a steel silver before it began to turn reddish-brown, his body oxidizing, rusting. The power of Baihoman's Kongu attack, an attack which causes the Digimon's body to turn into metal before rusting and being destroyed after fully rusting over. Cinderman then became fully rusted after a minute before exploding into red flakes of data. Whoa, Naruto, where did you get that card? The other 3 Tamers asked. I got it from the Sovereigns. I was given 5 cards, each containing the power of one of the Sovereigns. The one you just saw was the power of Baihoman, and Rika had seen the one with Angewomon. Remember that lightning attack I used on Ramon a long time ago? Rika nodded. The image was beautifully destructive, blue lightning in the form of a dragon falling from the heavens. Truly a power worth fearing, and if that was just a fraction of their power, the real deal must be even more destructive. Well, that's that, Takato said as the Digimon de-digivolved, except for Gatomon, back into their rookie forms. That was awesome! Jerry, Kenta and Kazu cried out and began to chat up a storm. The Tamers and their Digimon chuckled. The day had gone by quickly after that. Naruto had sealed Gatomon and Dorman back into their scrolls for travel, and Gilman was put into a blank sealing scroll for Takato when Gilman was put into such situations, while Renamon snuck on top of the vehicle and used her claws to remain stationary as the bus began to move. Terriermon and Kalyamon kept up their disguises as stuffed toys. When the students arrived back at school, their parents had arrived waiting for them and took them home. Well, Takato, Henry, I'll see you guys later then, Naruto said with a wave. The other 2 male Tamers nodded and then left. Takato had managed to have Naruto seal Gilman into a blank scroll he always carried with him, and was going back to the park to let him out. Naruto had given Takato had then pumped chakra into the scroll before Takato left, so that all Takato had to do was open the scroll when he reached the park. Rika was about to walk over to Seiko, Makino having left to go on a fashion shoot in France, but the young redhead paused as she saw Naruto raising his eyebrow playfully. Now I knew I forgot something, Rika said with a giggle as she walked up to Naruto. Naruto chuckled and bent down as the two kissed each other goodbye. Rika then decided to spice things up and added a bit of tongue to the kiss, which Naruto gladly complied to. The two remained kissing for a good half a minute before parting. Naruto's eyes were a bit hazy. I'm in love with Rika-chan, Naruto whispered as he waved goodbye to his Rika-chan as she walked away with Seiko. Rika waved back and winked at her boyfriend before turning back. Naruto then disappeared using Shunshin. You really love that boy, don't you, Rika-chan? Seiko asked as they walked towards the house. Rika thought for a while. She was young and didn't really understand the concept of love yet, but she knew she had strong feelings for Naruto. But the things Naruto could make her do, laugh, blush, smile, and get that fuzzy feeling in her body. Rika knew it and Seiko knew it too. Rika Nanaka loved Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. In the digital world A/N, it's been a while since I shifted scenes to this place. Dark prison of Lucemon. Lucemon watched as Naruto used Shunshin to go back to his apartment before causing the orb he used to spy on the blonde Jinchuriki to go dark, not wishing to see anymore. Lucemon cursed. Kyuso, this is taking too long. Naruto needs to get back into the digital world, but how? Lucemon thought. The angel Digimon thought for a while before an evil smile broke out on his face. The digital hazard symbol seemed to pulse on his right hand as his plan came into action. The Devas are being sent out, which means one thing. Zhuqiaomon wants the catalyst, and if the catalyst is returned to the digital world, with the bond it has made with Naruto and the others, they will no doubt come to rescue him. I'd better influence Zhuqiaomon to send out these two Dava Lucemons marking glowed violet, and the golden cuffs around his ankles and wrists glowed with a golden light. South section of the digital world lair of Zhuqiaomon. The large phoenix cursed as he felt the presence of another Dava being vanquished. The chaos is returning. I need that catalyst. But those Tamers, those human scum and their Digimon filth, they are getting in the way, Zhuqiaomon grumbled. Fire surrounded him to emphasize his feelings of anger and frustration. Then a voice was heard in his head. Having a little trouble, are we, Zhuqiaomon-sama? The voice, unknown to the sovereign, it is Lucemon, asked. It's you, that voice that told me about the chaos rising and to retrieve the catalyst. What do you want? The Phoenix of the South asked. Listen, the reason you have failed is because the Tamers and their Digimon are too powerful as a team, therefore you will need a large amount of offensive power to combat them, while also you need someone with speed and stealth to retrieve the catalyst, Lucemon said. Do you have any two Devas in mind? Zhuqiaomon asked. Oh yes, Zhuqiaomon-sama. However, the timing must be right if you are to succeed. Do what you wish until that time, but I suggest you send out Vikaralamon for the offensive power due to his sheer size and his strength, and Makuramon for the stealth and speed to retrieve the catalyst you disguised as a Digimon, Lucemon said. I see, this plan is very good. However, when is the time to send those two out? Zhuqiaomon asked. In at least the time frame of 1 month passes in the real world. Until then send out whatever Devas you wish, Lucemon advised. Zhuqiaomon nodded his large fiery-colored head, his feathers rustling so that it looked like they were actual burning flames. I will do this. As you have not shown any reason to have failed me, it is the Devas they are too weak. So I will need to send out some stronger ones. Before you leave, my advisor, who are you? Lucemon chuckled as Zhuqiaomon's question. I am someone who will aid in your quest to destroy the chaos, Lucemon said as he severed his connection with Zhuqiaomon. And in doing so, I shall rule over the digital world and destroy all who oppose me, including you, my young phoenix. Naruto will come to the digital world. I will be freed and I will rule all. Bwahahahaha. Chapter 13. A Dragon's Heart. It had been at least 1 week since the episode with Cinderman on the camping trip, and the Tamers were getting used to a normal lifestyle without fighting the few Digimon that came through the barrier between the real world and the digital world. Juggernaut X was actually doing a pretty good job so far, so Yamaki was also taking a slight break, while Riley and Tally slaved over the Juggernaut X program. Naruto and Rika were walking down the road hand in hand. Their Digimon were taking the day off, slightly since they were following the two along the rooftops. Hey look, it's Rika Nanaka, the Digimon Queen! Some random guy yelled out. Immediately her fanboys came rushing over to her, but were stopped to a halt as Naruto stepped in front of her, his arms crossed in front of his chest. Sapphire eyes filled with malice, his extra long and sharp canines bared. Mind telling me what you guys are trying to do with my girlfriend? Naruto growled, his eyes flashing red for a second. The boys backed away, a few being brave enough to stand up to the blonde. Oi, what the hell are you talking about? Rika wouldn't date a loser like you, a guy yelled. A tick mark appeared on Rika's forehead before she walked up and yanked the boy down by the collar to meet her eyes. Listen here, punk, you insult Naruto-kun again and I'll have what makes you a man severed when you're asleep. The girl released a bit of killing intent. After all, having a shinobi for a boyfriend had its perks. Killing intent use being one of the many advantages. The boy backed away and ran away screaming with tears in eyes. Naruto smirked and kissed the red head on her cheek, earning gasps and glares from her fanboys. Arigato Rika-chan. No problem, Whiskers, she said, using the affectionate nickname she used when she needed to get rid of the stalkers in front of her. Naruto then released full blast of killing intent, causing many to faint and wet their pants, leaving stains on the groin area of their pants. Others ran away terrified, and Naruto and Rika walked along the road, stepping on the fanboys in the process, whistling a happy tune. They should be a force to be reckoned with, Dorman said as he walked with Gatomon and Renamon along the rooftops. That's for sure. I mean, did you see those guys' faces? They probably shit their pants, Gatomon added. As much as I like Rika now being open with me, this happy-go-lucky attitude she has, it feels so alien to me, Renamon said. Don't worry, Renamon. The two partners of the blonde tamer spoke as they leaped across another roof. Rika is still the same egotistical maniac we all know and love, just with a major attitude adjustment. Renamon chuckled at the two shorter Digimon and nodded. It's for the best. I wonder how things would have turned out if we hadn't met Naruto, Renamon thought. A/N. That would be canon then, Renamon. As the couple and their trailing Digimon continued to travel, a small rookie Digimon was thinking over some things as he sat in a tree branch. Are those stupid tamers and their stupid partners making me feel something good? Immon thought as he snapped his fingers, staring at the red flames that appeared and disappeared with each snap. Humans, they are nothing but trouble, just like my tamers were. Flashback. Two small children were glaring at each other as a teddy bear stood between them along with a young scarf-wearing Digimon with purple skin and a pale white face. Green eyes flashed between both humans as the Digimon looked back and forth between his tamers. The first was a girl. Due to her height, she was obviously older than the boy. She wore a white shirt underneath a pink dress, her brown hair tied into two pigtails, and two brown eyes filled with annoyance towards the boy were present as well. The boy was shorter and therefore younger than his older sister. He wore a white shirt underneath blue overalls, annoyance present in his brown eyes as well towards the girl. Hey, why did you take my toy? The girl cried out to the boy. Because you always take mine, besides Oka-chan said I could. Well, I say you can't. Both children glared at each other before turning towards the Digimon in between them. Well, you're just a big fat head. Immon, tell her. The boy cried. Nanny, you're just a stupid gaki. Immon, get him. The girl yelled, pointing at her brother. Immon, his eyes filled with confusion and fear as he faced a dilemma on what side to choose, clouded his young mind. The two then grabbed Immon's arms, the boy on his left and the girl on his right. They began to pull hard. Immon's eyes lined with tears as his arms felt as if they were going to be ripped out of their sockets. Immon! The boy pulled harder. Immon! The girl pulled to try and bring Immon over to her side. Immon grunted in pain before screaming. End flashback. Immon shivered in his tree branch, his arms wrapped around his body as he curled his body into a small little ball. The feeling of his arms being pulled at felt as if his sensory nerves were on fire. His arms shifting ever so slightly so as to remind himself they were still there. Those two gakis ruined my life. I can never trust humans, only using Digimon for their own selfish gains, but... Immon's mind showed him a picture of the Tamers and their Digimon laughing as he swam with them in the river. The smirk of happiness that formed on his face. Those Tamers, they don't seem to act like they want to hurt their Digimon. Especially that blonde one, he fights alongside his partners and they respect each other. Those smiles, they seem so genuine. Immon shook his head. And oh, I cannot trust them. I forged my own path. I can't go back to them. Not ever. Immon growled before standing up and leaving his tree in a show of speed that he had never shown. A few leaves fluttering to the ground being the only evidence that something was up in the branches. Shinjuku Park. The group of Tamers were standing there glaring at each other in silence as they pondered their next move. Outside, Kenta, Kazu, and Jerry were watching them. Look at them, talking about some serious Dava stuff while we stay on the sidelines, Kazu muttered. Kazu, it's not nice to talk about them like that. Takato-kun and the others are doing whatever they can to protect people that could get hurt if wild Digimon appear. I just wish I had my own Digimon too though, Jerry said with a downcast look. Same here, Kenta and Kazu sighed as they agreed with Jerry on the not having a partner part. It was then that they heard footsteps and looked to see Naruto walking outside the shed and looking up at the sky before he spoke. The Devas haven't been sighted lately, but remember to keep your guard up. Naruto said. Hi, but… Takato stopped. What is it, Takato? Henry asked. Yeah, buddy, spit it out, Terriermon said. What if the next Dava is too strong for us to handle? What if… He froze as Naruto walked up to him. The older Tamer placed his hand on Takato's shoulder and gave him a foxy grin. Takato, I understand your fears. I once felt them myself. Naruto paused as his fellow Tamers stared at him. The fearless blonde shinobi had once felt fear. But in order to become fearless, one must know their fears, conquer them, and then you will be able to take them on. However, some fears cannot just simply be overcome, such as fear of loss or death. Takato looked confused at his mentor. I still don't understand. What I'm trying to say is, it's alright to be afraid. It's part of what makes us who we are, and if the next Dava is stronger for us to handle, then I, along with your Digimon and mine, we will lay down our lives if it means protecting yours. Henry's and Rika-chan's. Naruto spoke, seriousness and determination evident in those sapphire orbs. Naruto-kun. Rika looked as Naruto glanced at her. Rika-chan, I will do what I must if it means I can assure your safety. If anything happened to you, or any of the others, I wouldn't be able to have a peace of mind. Naruto walked over to the red-haired Tamer and smiled down at her. I protect my friends and those I hold precious to me. That is my ninja way, and I don't go back on my word. Everyone's eyes widened, even the Digimons, at Naruto's words. Naruto then glanced at Dorman and Gatomon. Let's go, you two, we have a job to do, Naruto said, walking straight past them as he left the shed. Gatomon climbed atop the blonde's head and Dorman jumping onto his shoulder, using Gatomon as a balancing support. Kazu, Kenta and Jerry then watched as Naruto walked away from the shed, the other Tamers and their Digimon watching the blondes retreating back before the three vanished in blur of speed, a swirl of leaves being the only thing left behind. Do you think he really meant that? Henry asked. Rika, does he? Takato turned to the blonde's girlfriend. Rika sighed and wiped the tears that threatened to fall from her eyes. Knowing that stubborn whiskers, he means every word Rika said. Renamon picked up Rika and vanished as a blur as Takato left Gilman in the shed and Henry and Terriermon taking off after the goggle-wearing Tamer. Whoa, things must be really bad if they acted like that, Kenta spoke, adjusting his glasses. I think we better leave, the timid girl said before getting up to go home, her puppet hand barking along the way. Kazu and Kenta looked at each other and shrugged before following the puppet-wearing girl. Digital World Southern Quadrant, Zhuqiaomon's lair. The large phoenix of a Digimon sat in front of his throne of flames. His 4 golden eyes burned like the fires within his body as he stared down the Digimon in front of him. Now, do you understand your mission, my loyal servant? Zhuqiaomon asked. Of course, O Sovereign. When the Digimon bowed before the Sovereign said. The fiery-colored bird nodded before stretching out his wing as if pointing at something, namely outside his lair. Excellent. Now remember, as one of my Devas, I do not accept failure, as failure results in your deletion. The Deva before the Sovereign nodded as Zhuqiaomon continued. Retrieve the catalyst, but first take out those pesky human rats and their Digimon if they decide to interfere, Zhuqiaomon said. The Deva nodded. I live to serve thee, O great Sovereign of Flames. The Deva bowed. Then the Deva disappeared through a blue portal of data before it closed. Zhuqiaomon looked at what the humans would call a calendar, having reconstructed one out of the images he had received from the real world. It was now the month of June. The end of the month named May was when Cinderman had entered the realm of humans, and the beginning of June was when the rooster Dava fell at the hands of the very same humans he had been trying to destroy. Also, that was when he had received his advice from the voice who seemed to have a power over him, something that felt familiar and dark, yet comforting and warm, that he was able to be swayed by the voice's advisory abilities. The chaos is rising. I must save my kind. The Digimon depend on the catalyst, and the humans will fall as they have brought this threat upon us. Zhuqiaomon then went towards his throne of flames and flapped his wings before nestling in it. Zhuqiaomon-sama, I have some changes in the plan for you to make, Lucemon said. Once again, for those that might get confused, Zhuqiaomon doesn't know this is Lucemon talking to him. What is it now? Zhuqiaomon said, rolling his eyes. He was getting annoyed with having to respond using his thoughts whenever his advisor spoke to him. Zhuqiaomon was one who liked to hear the sound of his own voice. The timing, the month must be changed for which you will send Vikaralamon and Makuramon to the real world. Apparently, during the summer, the Digimon Apocalypse in Azulomon's quadrant, the one who was defeated by the Digidestin that is seen as a television show in this real world, will attempt to break free into the real world. This will put a damper on our own plans because he will interfere with the Tamers, as they will have to go and try and stop him, and they will take the catalyst with them. Wait until the winter times. During the month of September is when we will send out the 2 Devas. But why so late to send out the Devas? Zhuqiaomon asked. his throne of fire crackling wildly to reflect his uneasiness. He wanted to retrieve Calumet as soon as possible. His throne was a mental link to his emotions, such as flaring up when in anger or gentle when calm. Because Zhuqiaomon-sama, due to the devis you will not send during the summer, the Tamers will lulled into a phasal sense of security. After all, you will send out your other devis during this month alone, correct? Zhuqiaomon nodded. That is correct. If Indramon fails, I will be sending out as many of the devis we can when possible, in order to get back Calumet. But I see where you are going with this. By not sending out any of the devis in such a long time, they will think we have given up, and then we will have the element of surprise on our side. Choose carefully as to who your devis will be when Indramon fails. Naruto will not be taken down so easily. How do you know that boy, the shinobi, is the one to defeat Dava? Naruto's potential and strength know no bounds. He is constantly growing and adapting as he increases in levels of strength. Indramon will fall because of his arrogant nature, as he underestimates the boy as well as his friends and their Digimon. Remember what I said. Choose carefully when sending out your next devis. Until next time. Zhuqiaomon-sama. Lucemon smirked as he severed the connection. Since Zhuqiaomon was located in the digital world, it was easier to get in contact with the Phoenix rather than to get in contact with Naruto in the real world. Also, Zhuqiaomon was very easy to manipulate once it aided in the Phoenix of the South's plans to get back Calumet. Naive little fool, the fallen angel said to himself before going into rest. During the winter time, the seal will be at its weakest. However, it will still be strong enough to hold me, yet weak enough for it to be broken by an outside force. The time draws near, my freedom draws near, and Naruto, my boy, you will help me in doing so. Lucemon spoke with an evil grin. His sky-blue eyes glowed along with the seemingly pulsing digital hazard symbol on his right hand. Calumet, you will be taken here. Your rightful place in the digital world will be restored, the Phoenix said to himself. Shinjuku underneath the freeway. It was evening. The sky was now filled with a blood-red color, clouds seeming to be an ebony shade as they floated in the crimson sea. Naruto, Dorman, and Gatomon stood beneath the freeway. It acted as a bridge as people normally passed beneath it while cars took the freeway in order to bypass the human traffic congestion. Now that it was evening, the people were in their homes and there were no cars on the freeway. So Naruto, what are we doing here? Dorman asked his tamer, Gatomon resting her head on his shoulder as he was in a sitting position against one of the support columns that made up the freeway. We are waiting, Naruto said. For what exactly? Gatomon asked, a purr added at the end of her question, a sign that she was bored. Naruto did not respond, but suddenly his diarcs began to go off. Both reddish-violet and bronze-colored diarcs released high-pitched beeps that alerted them to the arrival of a Digimon. Hypnos HQ. Sir, there's been a Digimon spotted. It's attempting to bioemerge, Tally said, although she held more respect in her tone since she did not have the confidence of her coworker Riley to stand up against the blonde man. I see, well, take it down. That digital monster must not be able to make its way here. Activate Yuggoth and send a tracer to stop it, Yamaki commanded as he sat down, observing the fingers that flew across the keyboards of his two workers from their rotating chairs above. Yuggoth deployed, and Yuggoth destroyed? Riley said with a confused look on her face. Yuggoth's data representation was removed from the screen, but the tracer still managed to lock on as the Digimon continued to make its way through the barrier between the two worlds. Sir, it's bioemerging. The Digimon made it through. The location is... Riley typed a few keys. The West Shinjuku Freeway. Understood. Prepare to utilize the Juggernaut X program, Yamaki commanded. I want it ready within the hour. Hi, the two computer geniuses typed away as their boss bit his nails in frustration. Why do these freaks only make it through? Juggernaut X had been a success so far. Maybe this one is like that giant tiger those kids fought. It was the only one that able to get through. Let's see if it can handle this level of data removal. The blonde sunglasses wearing man, though, his cigarette lighter cap opening and closing as he played with it. West Shinjuku Freeway. Naruto, Dorman, and Gatomon stared at the large digital field that formed before the field dissipated and a large fountain of data emerged from the earth. The data began to swirl as it began to condense and form into a solid shape. Proteins began to synthesize as the data mixed with the proteins and made solid form. The result was a Digimon. It looked like a giant horse, with purple fur that covered most of its body. A silvery mane stretched down from its head and made its way down the Digimon's neck and ended at the mid-back, some of it sweeping over its shoulders and in front of its neck while also covering its eyes. A single red horn poked through the mane hair surrounding its forehead. Its two front limbs were larger than its back limbs, making it hunch over slightly. The two front limbs were covered in red bandages from the thigh area to just above the hoof area, with golden chrome digits that made horse shoes for the mammalian-looking Digimon. Golden horse shoes and hooves also made the Digimon's back feet. Golden bracers were wrapped around its ankles. Golden armor was worn over its chest area that covered the upper abdominal of the rather muscular horse. A belt was worn around its waist along with a giant conch shell was attached to its back by 2 green cloth straps that were worn over its shoulders. I am the server of the Sovereign One. Who may you be? Where is the catalyst? The large horse bellowed as he spied Naruto, Dorman and Gatomon walking out from beneath the freeway. I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, and judging from your big ego, I'm guessing you're a Dava who follows the old bird? Naruto said with a glare at the horse. I will not allow you to speak about Zhuqiaomon-sama that way. The horse whinnied before raising his large frontal hooves and bringing them down. The 3 rolled to the right before they glared at the horse. Why are you here for Kaliaman? Naruto asked. Zhuqiaomon-sama had ordered me to do so. The light of Digivolution must be brought back to the digital world is what he said, and destroy those who oppose me. I will follow the Sovereign One without question. Now be gone. The purple horse raised his large frontal hooves again and tried to crush the 3 beneath them, but Naruto quickly grabbed his 2 partners and jumped back. He rested them on the ground and took out his Democrat Arkansas. After 20 seconds, which was the time it took for the large Dava to reach them, the Democrat Arkansas beeped and a holographic image of the purple horse appeared on screen along with its data. Dorman and Gatomon quickly jumped to attack the Dava, landing on the Digimon's arms as it tried to knock them down before running up its arms to reach its head. Indramon, ultimate level and follower of Zhuqiaomon, just as I thought. His strength is just as large as himself, and he is able to hold that giant shell on his back with telekinesis. His attacks are Horn of Desolation and Bao Bei. Naruto pocketed Gatomon's Democrat Arkansas before taking out Dorman's and the Digivolution card, but paused and put them away when he saw a small shadow jump out from behind him. Dorman and Gatomon were running up along Indramon's arms before jumping off. Gatomon's foot glowed with a bright white aura while Dorman's body suddenly shone as if it were polished steel. Nico Kick, Hyper Dash Metal. The 2 attaches collided head-on with Indramon's nose, sending the Dava's head back a bit from the impact of the 2 rather strong attacks. You 2 are quite strong for a rookie and a champion level, Indramon said before smirking. However, you're going to need more than that to beat me. Indramon struck them down with his large left hoof, sending the 2 partners downwards. They managed to flip in mid-air and right themselves before skidding along the ground. They growled at the Dava, but stopped when they saw a small purple Digimon in front of them. Oh, horse breath. What the hell do you're doing? Immon yelled. Another weakling. These 2 are my opponents. Leave me be, Indramon said, looking over to Dorman and Gatomon. I will not be ignored. I'm just as strong as those 2, Immon yelled as a small red fireball flickered to life on the edge of his finger. Badaboom! The red fireball collided with Indramon's nose, but did no damage. Is that all? Indramon chuckled before lashing out, and crashing his right golden hoof against Immon, sending the rookie Digimon to the ground before striking him again, and slamming him into a nearby column. Immon fell to the ground panting, but remained defiant. I am not weak. Immon ran and jumped as he avoided an attack before leaping up to Indramon's nose. You think you and your stinkin' sovereign are gonna defeat me? I'm top dog around here and I will obliterate you. Immon lashed out with a ferocious right hook followed by a kick before rotating his body and slamming his heel against the horse Dava's muzzle, and then used the momentum to reverse his twist, and then performed a front flip to plant an axe kick which crashed into the horse Dava's nose. Immon then lashed out with a double punch followed by a double kick and then fired multiple fireball at Indramon. Immon suddenly heard Indramon chuckled and saw his attacks had done no damage whatsoever before he was struck in the side with a hoof. Immon fell before Indramon raised his hoof. It traveled after Immon and landed atop the fallen Digimon. Immon was shown to be badly injured as the hoof was raised, his form flickering in and out of its stability. Immon struggled to stand, his form still flickering. Meanwhile, beneath the freeway, Takato, Henry and Rika had arrived and were watching the poor guy struggle as he fought with all his heart to fight the larger Digimon. Renamon, we have to help him, Rika cried out to her partner. The blonde KitsuneDragon shook her head before her icy blue eyes gazed at the fellow rookie Digimon. No, not unless we have to. This is Immon's fight, we cannot intervene. This is a matter of pride, not strength, Renamon spoke. Infernal funnel! Everyone looked to see Immon standing on his 2 feet, arms outstretched before a red ring of fire formed, with a pink ring of flame forming within the red ring. The 2 mixed to form a larger fireball about the size of 2 basketballs combined. The pinkish-red fireball flew at Indramon and impacted with his mane, setting the hair ablaze. Indramon gasped and quickly put out the flames, but some of the silvery hairs fell to the ground, burnt to ashes. You burnt my luxurious mane! I work hours to make it have that shine, you insolent little Digigaki, I'll end you! Indramon raised his arms, and the shell on his back appeared in front of him. Bao Bei! The shell then came down upon Immon, but before it could make contact, Renamon quickly sped into the fray and grabbed the little Digimon and bringing him back to the freeway. I was supposed to be the strongest there was. Apparently I'm just a nobody, a weakling, Immon said as he sniffled. He felt to his hands and knees, a pathetic act for one such as Immon as he pounded the ground with his fist. Renamon watched before turning and running off into battle. Goman Immon. But we can't let you die, not now. You have a purpose. You just need to find out what it is, Renamon thought as the Tamers swiped their cards and the 4 rookies digivolved into their champion forms. Digivolution. Dorman digivolved to Darugamon, Renamon digivolved to Cubimon, Gilman digivolved to Grolman, Terrierman digivolved to Gargamon. Everyone attack! Naruto cried and the 5 champion-level Digimon sprung into action. Darugamon and Gatomon upon the dragon Digimon's head flew up to eye level before Darugamon opened his mouth. Power metal! The dragon roared before the electrically charged orb of steel and iron struck the horse, sending it stumbling back a bit. Growlmon then jumped and his elbow protrusions glowed blue with energy. Dragon Slash! The 2 blades of energy clashed with Indramon's red bandages, not even ripping them, but the impact of the attack was felt as Indramon grunted, but still didn't budge. Cubimon ran forward and then spun in the air. Dragon Wheel! Pyro Blaster! Grolman's and Cubimon's attacks mixed to form a violet fire dragon that crashed into Indramon's stomach that nearly caused Indramon to fall, but he was humiliated as the Dava did fall. Gargo Laser! Gargamon yelled as his bullets hit the sensitive underparts of the golden hooves of the horse Dava, causing him to whinny in pain a bit before stumbling onto one knee. Lightning Paw! Digimodify! Power Activate! Naruto yelled, swiping the card through Gatomon's Democrat Arkansas. Gatomon's claws were then surrounded by a brighter white energy before slamming into Indramon's face with enough force to send the Digimon's head snapping back. Dragon Slash! Growlmon yelled as Darugamon swooped down and threw the red-scaled dinosaur up to Indramon's facial level, and then the digital hazard Digimon spun in the air, and using the momentum, the Dragon Slash struck forth and sent the large horse tumbling to the ground. Growlmon was then joined in the air as the other appeared next to him. Growlmon opened his maw and the largest ball of flame ever made by him was formed. Red, blue, and violet sparks of electricity formed in Darugamon's reptilian jaws as a metal sphere materialized and it coated with the sparks. Cubimon spread out her tails and the 9 small blue falls of flame formed. The ghostly blue fireballs then began to burn even more intensely as Cubimon channeled more power into her attack. Gargamon's Gatling guns spun rapidly, glowing an emerald color, while Gatomon's foot glowed with a powerful white aura. Pyro Blaster, Power Metal, Gargo Laser, Foxtail Inferno, Nico Kick. All 5 attacks were launched forth. Naruto then smirked as he drew a card. Digimodify, Energy Transfer Activate. The blonde shinobi Tamer swiped the card through the slit in the side of the bronze-gold-colored Democrat Arkansas. Gatomon then spun in the air, forming a small twister of white as the energy from all the other attacks surrounding her fused with the energy from her Nico Kick, transferring into her being. Gatomon's foot then glowed a rainbow of colors as they formed a large rainbow-colored flame around what used to be a Nico Kick attack. Gatomon bared her sharp feline fangs in a broad smile as the powers of fire, light, steel, and electricity coursed through her veins. The electricity and flames flying off as residue from the attack as it neared Indramon's down form. Collaboration Attack, Elemental Crusher. Gatomon cried out, however, as the attack was about to make contact. Indramon's form was suddenly absorbed into a swirling red, green, and blue vortex in the sky. Luckily, Gatomon's attack was able to nail the Dava hard enough in the stomach for Indramon to cry out in pain before he vanished as data into the vortex of Juggernaut X. Hey, my attack didn't get all the way through! Gatomon yelled as she stood in the crater that was made as her attack had met the ground. Everyone then looked up to see the swirling colorful vortex. Red, green, and blue flakes of data made up the portal that led back to the digital world. Suddenly the vortex began to suck up Growlmon, Gatomon, Gargamon, and Cubimon into the vortex. Darugamon growled as he was also being sucked into the vortex, but then without his knowing, the X antibody on his forehead shone with a crimson light. X antibody activate! Darugamon yelled as if he was possessed by some other being, his burnt orange eyes holding a dull glow to them. The X antibody then released a large beam that shot into the vortex that caused the Juggernaut X program to crumble from within before it vanished in a flash of white light. Darugamon sighed, the glow leaving his eyes. He then quickly dived down, straight as an arrow, and caught Gadaman on his back and Growlmon and Cubamon in his hands, which he tirelessly began to try and rest on the ground gently as he flapped his wings heavily. Gargamon fell past them and slammed onto the ground, forming a small crater. Gargamon whined as he rubbed his head. "Did somebody get the DG code of the Monochromon that ran me over?" Gargamon asked before lying back down and digivolving back into Terriermon. Everyone's sweat dropped, but still managed to show concern through it as their friend was injured. Digivolution managed to let Growlmon and Cubamon down as gently as he could, causing them both to drop from about 10 feet onto their asses. He tied the two champion-level Digimon grunted before they de-digivolve. Digivolution the de-digivolve in mid-air, managing to catch Gadaman also while landing on his feet. "You okay, Gato-chan?" The purple-furred dragon asked the feline Digimon. "That attack seemed to take a lot out of you. Where did you learn that attack?" Renamon asked. "She didn't. It came with the spur of the moment. All of our attack were going to collide with Indramon, the horse David Digimon we were fighting just now, so I decided to transfer all of their power into Gadaman's attack since she actually required physical contact for her attack." The name, Elemental Crusher, as cool as it sounds, it was made up, wasn't it? The blonde asked his partner. Gadaman stuck out her tongue playfully, which meant yes, I made it up. "What was that portal in the sky?" Henry asked. Naruto sighed. "Hypnos, as I told you, which is located in the Twin Towers over there," Naruto said, pointing to the clearly seen Hypnos HQ Towers, "is an organization that is trying to stop Digimon from bio-emerging into the real world so as to protect it. However, Yamaki, the seemingly head honcho of Hypnos, had developed a program called Juggernaut X, a destructive program that seems to remove Digimon from this world and send them back to the digital world. Although, I could see that as some of the Digimon from before we met Mihiraman on the day the Juggernaut X program was launched, some Digimon had disintegrated. And, as much as I dislike the Devas though, I hope Indramon managed to survive," Naruto explained. "I see, so how is Digimon able to stop it?" Takato asked. He seemed to fire a laser from his forehead and stop it. "That is the work of the X antibody within Dorman's programming. You see, in the beginning when Digimon were first being made, the prototype program called the Old Interface was made in the act of trying to create artificial life. I have my sources by snooping through Hypnos' secret files when I sneaked in before. Anyways, the project was shut down due to lack of funding and the Digimon project cut off. However, the Digimon managed to live on, and thus it formed Dorman, or Dotaman, since he was still a baby Digimon," Naruto said. "The Juggernaut X program contains a specific data-destroying program that destroys and trashes any useless data that is seen as such by the user of it. It is called the X program. The X antibody, from what I can tell, was integrated into Doraemon's software as he was made, and therefore he built up an immunity to the ancient program and thus is able to survive the Juggernaut X program as well as use its powers to stop it by shooting a beam as we have just seen, or during the first time. A large shield of data was generated from the X antibody to protect him during the time with Mihiraman." "I see, so this Juggernaut X program is a Digimon genocide maker?" Henry summarized. "Pretty much, and we have to be careful when Yamaki uses it, or else one of our own could be lost to it," Naruto said. The Tamers nodded, but then they paused as Naruto and Dorman turned back to face Gadaman, who was still looking at the crater from the Elemental Crusher. "Gadaman/Gato-chan?" the Tamer and partner asked, trying to get her attention. Gadaman remained focused on what she was looking at before looking up at where the Juggernaut X portal formed, and then she spotted something. Floating in the air were tiny blue and violet data particles that stayed there for a while before shooting off across the sky as it turned dark. "Indramon is not gone," Gadaman said as she faced the others. "Nanny, are you sure?" Gilman asked. "Hi, I spotted data residue, but it wasn't. Apparently the Devas are able to disintegrate their own data and then probably reintegrate themselves back into their forms, as they are probably able to reintegrate themselves back into their original forms. Indramon is probably injured from the attack we hit him with. Even if I only managed to produce minimal damage, the attack was able to injure that smelly horse enough for him to retreat. The Juggernaut X was probably there only to take Indramon, but since Indramon had disintegrated himself, the Juggernaut X program looked for the next best thing. Us, Rika inquired. Gadaman nodded. "Well, guess tomorrow we'll have to prepare for a surprise attack. Remember, don't let your guard down at all tomorrow morning, guys." "Gadaman, Dorman?" Naruto then knelt down as Dorman climbed onto his back and Gadaman on his blonde hair-covered head. The shinobi gave a small wave and winked at Rika before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. The others nodded to each other. Serious expressions played upon their faces before they turned away and left for home. "Be prepared. No holding back," the other Tamers and their Digimon thought simultaneously. The next day, Shinjuku Sewer Complex. Immon trudged through the murky waters of the sewer as he sighed. his green eyes downcast. I'm such a failure. Having that Renamon save my ass, Impmon growled as he fell from exhaustion. Indramon's attacks had left more than just pain of the body, it pained his mind and spirit from the battle. His weakness being shown to him firsthand while the others fought valiantly, and managed to pull off a win. I'm never going to digivolve. I'm just a loser, a Digibaka. I don't even deserve to be what I am. I'm not even considered to be a Digimon. I can't do anything. Impmon began to shudder and shake. Tears began to fall from his eyes. The bottled-up emotions of sadness, regret and frustration all being released as the dam burst and the emotions flooded out. He sat there for 1 whole hour until a blue light covered him. So this world can't even stand my weakness and is getting rid of me too, eh? Immon said as he looked at the blue light. His emerald eyes suddenly widened as he stared at the light. What the hell? Do you wish to become strong? A voice asked him. Impmon gulped and walked towards the light that suddenly became a portal. Do you wish to become strong? The unknown voice asked again. Immon blinked. The voice was full of warmth and kindness, but behind that he could hear the darkness within those words. But in his pitiful state he couldn't really interpret anything. However, the young Digimon didn't know how right he was as he nodded. Hi, I want to be strong. I want to digivolve, Impmon declared. The voice chuckled and then the digital hazard symbol blazed to life on Impmon's chest, and then he was sucked into the portal. Come to me, come back to your home in the digital world, and I shall grant you your wish, young Impmon, the voice said. Impmon's green eyes suddenly widened and the image of a young humanoid Digimon with 8 angelic wings and blonde hair with sky blue eyes formed in his mind's eye. I will go home. I will serve you, Lucemon-sama, and with that Impmon disappeared from the real world. Streets of Shinjuku. The 4 Tamers and their Digimon were walking through the streets. Well, actually, Gilman, Dorman and Terriermon were kept in the open while Gatomon and Renamon had to take to the rooftops since Renamon was too big and no one would have bought the kid in a cat suit alibi since the flicking of Gatomon's tail would have blown her cover. Calumet had appeared out of nowhere again and was currently atop Dorman's head making funny faces into the reflection of himself as he gazed into the shining old interface of the X antibody embedded in Dorman's forehead. I don't know how people are gullible enough to buy that. Gilman and Dorman are people in costumes while when I brought out Gatomon they thought she was a mutant cat. That makes no fucking sense, Naruto thought as he watched Dorman mope without his girlfriend beside him. Naruto held on to Rika's hand as they walked through the streets until they heard a cry. Takato/Chumli/Takato Kun. Came the respective cries of Kenta, Kazu, and Jerry. The 3 non-tamers ran up to them and smirked. Oh, Chumli, check this out, I made my own blue card. Now I'm a tamer just like you guys, Kazu said proudly, flashing the badly drawn card. It was made of several pieces of construction paper stuck together to the same thickness as a Digimon card and was colored blue with the badly drawn D and pixelated, if you could call it that, dinosaur. The drawing was crudely colored as well as if by, is that crayon? They all thought with a sweat drop. Kazu, listen, it's not that easy. Making your own blue card doesn't make you a tamer. You have to have a partner and a Democrat Arkansas that represents the bond between you and your Digimon like we do, Takaton explained. Now come on, we're gonna kick a giant horse's ass to the curb, Takato said as their DRs began to beep. Exit highway from West Shinjuku leading to Central Shinjuku. The cars were stopped as the traffic lights suddenly began to stop working and a large digital field popped up out of nowhere. The digital field expanded, growing larger and larger before it was removed, and there stood Indramon. The giant purple pony whinnied before bringing his hooves down, crushing a few cars and causing a shockwave that caused the highway, which was balanced on strong titanium-infused columns, to crack slightly and creak and also cause many cars to turn over and crash into each other, causing major traffic congestion. People, having seen the giant horse, quickly began getting out of their cars and racing back towards the city. After several hours, many people had made it to safety, although Indramon may not have been so merciful and killed few hundred with his Bao Bei, the giant shell. Then when the majority of people left, the 4 Digimon tamers arrived on the scene. Look, it's him, it's Indramon, Henry cried out as the 4 tamers and 3 non-tamers arrived on scene. Let's do this, Naruto cried out as they all took out their DRs and cards. Cue Digimon theme song. Digimodify, Digivolution activate. Calumet's crimson triangle on his forehead began to glow, bathing the 4 rookies in a red light as their tamers slashed the Digivolution cards through the slits on the side of their DRs. Digivolution. Dorman Digivolve 2. Dorman's old interface symbol glowed red before he was surrounded by swirls of reddish-violet data that then formed a swirling egg of reddish-violet data. Dorman's skin and fur peeled away to reveal a much large form, bound together by reddish-violet squares of data. The skin then reattached itself along with fur. The reddish-violet egg of data exploded to reveal Doraemon's champion form. A large dragon, only a little bit shorter than Juggernaut, emerged. Black fur with purple zigzag patterns coated the Digimon. 2 large wings on the back were black with purple zigzag patterns, but on the underside they were pure white, just like the snout area, hands, feet, wrists, and ankles, along with the tip of the new Digimon's tail. A collar of white fur formed at the base of the dragon's neck, and the ears were more pointed than before. Sharp teeth lined its jaws, and 3 crimson claws on each of the dragon's forelimbs and back limbs seemed to shine. Orange eyes seemed to glow in their sockets. Finally, the red triangle, outlined in gray, the old interface, lay in the center of its forehead. Juggernaut, Renamon Digivolve 2. Renamon's form was encased in a swirling blue egg of data, her skin and fur peeling off to reveal a larger form beneath it all and bound together by a wire frame pattern. She changed to resemble a large golden and white-furred kitsune with the edges of the white fur that glowed with mystical blue flames on the paws. Instead of 1 tail, 8 more had sprouted out, now 9 blonde-colored tails, each tipped with white fur that seemed to also glow with mystical blue flames just like her paw fur. The bottom of Cubimon's mouth was white and 2 purple slash marks were shown underneath her still glacial blue eyes, and a large white mane extended along the entire length of her neck. The yin-yang symbol was shown above each of her 4 legs, and one lay on the center of her forehead. A white and red rope tied in a bow with 2 golden bells attached to it was wrapped around her neck. Cubimon, Gilman Digivolve 2. Gilman was surrounded by a swirling red egg of data. Gilman's skin then peeled away to reveal a darker red form that was patterned in a wire frame pattern. The skin then reattached itself to form a larger, more powerful form of Gilman. The egg of data exploded to reveal a larger version of Gilman, except the ears were now like spikes and 2 blade-like protrusion came from his elbows, and Gilman seemed to look a lot more reptilian looking, with a mane of silver-white hair growing from the back of his head. Black band-like patterns with digicode on them were shown on his legs, forearms, and around the thick part of his tail. The 0 unit was emblazoned on his feet and hands, while the digital hazard symbol was located on his left shoulder. Grolman, Terrierman Digivolve 2. Terriermon was surrounded by an egg of swirling green data. Terriermon's skin peeled away to reveal a large green rabbit covered in wire frame pattern, or blue squares for a simpler term. The skin then reattached itself as Terriermon's body grew into that of a larger rabbit. His face and ears were entirely green, the edge of the ears, the body and muzzle of Gargamon being a tan color. A red diamond lay in the center of the champion level's forehead. 2 red slash-like markings were on Gargamon's cheeks. His hands were replaced with Gatling guns. A string of ammunition was strapped across the trigger Happy Bunny's chest, and he wore a pair of navy blue jeans. Gargamon, the 5 champion Digimon, appeared again to face off against the dreaded purple pony, only his time. The giant Dava seemed to be a bit bigger than last time. Is it just me, or does the purple pony over there seem bigger? Gargamon asked. Everyone looked at Gargamon, and then at Indramon before their eyes widened. You know, I think Gargamon has a point, Rika said. The large horse Dava did seem to be a few meters taller from when they previously met him. Ah yes, my little playmates, so nice to see you again. Now Zhuqiaomon-sama can finally get the catalyst back, seeing as how he is with you. Right there, Indramon whinnied, pointing at Calliamon. Now where you're going to get your grubby little hooves on, Calliamon? The Digimon roared. Indramon snorted and stomped his hooves. These hooves are encased in chrome digits, so who do you think you're calling grubby? Indramon said. Indramon, as powerful as he is, had a soft spot for his looks, and was why he lashed out with such fury when Immon burned his mane. The Digimon then charged forwards and attacked. Dragon Slash! Zhuqiaomon yelled before jumping into the air and aimed his elbow blades at the large horse, but the Dava smirked before bringing up his hoof and slamming it down on Zhuqiaomon. The red dinosaur grunted in pain as he met the harsh concrete right between 2 cars. Cubimon then ran past the downed dino before spinning in the air, ghostly blue flames surrounding her form, and then taking off in the form of a dragon. Dragon Wheel! The sapphire dragon roared before racing towards Indramon, but the horse simply took a deep breath and large hurricane of winds from his large horse nostrils. The winds, although fanning flames, also managed to divert and blow the dragon off course, and it dispersed in mid-air. Gargamon had used the attack as a distraction in order to leap atop a large gasoline truck. Henry, a little strength here. Henry nodded and swiped the card. Digimodify, power activate. Gargamon looked, and Darugumon and Gatamon and the 3 nodded. Gargamon jumped high into the air using powerful leg muscles as he leaped above the gasoline truck. Darugumon then swooped down and grabbed it before throwing it upwards. Gatamon followed it before spinning in the air and used to build up momentum. Nico Kick! Her glowing white paw/foot slammed into the now dented gas truck as it sailed past Gargamon and at Indramon. Gargo Laser! The two Gatling gun hands of Gargamon fired the barrage of green laser bullets that struck the gasoline truck as it was near Indraman's face and caused it to explode, causing a loud boom to race through the air and reach the ears of those present. The Digimon smirked in triumph. However, their happiness was short-lived as they saw the Digimon standing there without any damage done to him. "Is that all you got?" Indraman asked with a chuckle before the giant Bao Bei on his back floated from his cloth bindings and appeared in front of him. "Take him down, combine attack!" Juggernaut yelled. Naruto slashed a card through Gatamon's Democrat Arkansas and the feline's left arm grew into the shape of Metal Garurumon's head, the head's jaws opened out, and a cannon was shown to be held within. Digimodify, Ammonman's Supreme Cannon, Power Metal, Foxtail Inferno, Pyro Blaster, Gargo Laser, Supreme Cannon. The 5 attacks swirled into one before racing towards the gargantuan steed, but Indraman chuckled as the inside of the Bao Bei began to glow with a rainbow-colored light and the attack was absorbed into it. "Ha ha ha, you cannot defeat me!" Indraman bellowed as he took a deep breath. Grolman's eyes widened. "Just absorb." Gatamon spoke. "All our attacks." Cubimon finished the sentence. A surprising statement since those were their most powerful attacks as well as one of Naruto's most powerful modification cards. Indraman then took a deeper breath of air before releasing the air into the large conch shell with an exhale from his great lung capacity. Horn of Desolation. A large beam, with at least double the attack power of their combined attack, shot back at the 5. Naruto and the others cursed as the blonde drew a card. Digimodify, Imperdioldramon Paladin Mode's Omni Sword. He yelled. Gatamon's claws were suddenly clutching the famed Omni Sword before she spun the blade expertly in her hands before spinning it in a circle. The Horn of Desolation was being held back. But Gatamon was only one Digimon, and although the attack was significantly weakened, it still posed to cause great damage. And great damage it caused, for Gatamon's Omni Sword broke before her very eyes and the attack continued straight and true before impacting with her and the rest of the Digimon. The other watched as the blast had their Digimon scattered. Then they heard the sound of helicopters from above. "Look, maybe this should be a job for the military, they could handle it," Takato yelled. The helicopters raced through the clear blue skies over their heads. Is that a giant horse?" one pilot asked. "I don't care, just kill it," the lead pilot ordered. Missiles blazed to life as their speed and destructive detonating prowess were sure to defeat the Digimon, which it didn't, for Indraman simply raised his front hooved and blocked it before swiping with them. Hitting 3 of the 4 helicopters then came to help from the Japanese defense. The helicopters spun out of control and the pilots ejected themselves as their rides were blown to smithereens as it impacted with the road below. "I'm gonna miss that heli," said one pilot. The 4th helicopter then acted as a rescue copter and saved the parachuting ex-pilots before abandoning the mission. "Mission abort, mission abort. Enemy is too strong, cannot engage. I repeat, we cannot engage. We're returning to base," the pilot of the 4th helicopter said. "Great, even the country's defenses don't work," Rika said, rolling her eyes. The Digimon then stood to their feet and Naruto gritted his teeth as he withdrew a blue card. "Digimodify, Matrix Digivolution," Naruto yelled. "Matrix Crystal activate." Calyamon yelled as the blue light expelled from the bronze Democrat Arkansas mixed with the light of Digivolution as it was launched at Gatamon. Gatamon smirked. "I'll take you down now, Matrix Digivolution." Gatamon Matrix Digivol 2. Gatamon glowed a bronze-gold color as her body lengthened and became more humanoid. Her tail retracted into her body and 8 angelic wings grew on her back. Her ears became a small pair of angelic wings that were connected to a steel helmet that covered her eyes and nose. Long, flowing blonde hair cascaded down her back from her head like a waterfall of gold. A white outfit covered her previously naked body, leaving only a bit of her stomach and her upper thighs visible. 2 wing-shaped cups covered her breasts and a makeshift bra of some sort, and a long pink ribbon with digicode printed along it was wrapped around her arms. A pair of gloves that stretched to her forearms appeared, and finally a pair of boots. The one on her left looked like a regular high-heel boot that was apparently a part of the leotard-like bodysuit she was wearing, while the one on her right was relatively normal if you didn't count the fact it was completely covered with pure white feathers. Her ring from her tail became wrapped around her left ankle. Her 8 angelic wings flapped majestically. Angewomon, the angel Digimon, glared beneath her steel helmet and held out her feathery bow, and an arrow of light formed. "Celestial Arrow!" she yelled, and the light arrow sped towards the Dava. But Indraman batted it away only to come face to face with an angry goddess of the digital world. With surprising strength that surprised even Indraman, Angewomon lashed out and punched Indraman in the face, sending the horse Dava stumbling backwards and falling to the ground. Then she grabbed the Dava by his back left hoof and dragged him along the ground, scraping his body against the cars, only stopping when she reached where her friends lay, which only fueled her need to stop this monster. She threw Indramon up into the air, and then flew after him at speeds that caused her to break the sound barrier. A barrage of punches landed before she let loose a palm strike that formed a palm of light to the stomach before flying towards his chest area and punched it repeatedly as cracks began to form on the armor. She then kicked him in the stomach before twisting, and a backhand struck Indramon, sending him flying through the air. Angewomon then blurred out of existence before appearing, baying Indramon, and fired a roundhouse to his back, and then appearing in front of him and spun to crash her elbow against his snout. Indramon whinnied in pain as a left hook struck his jaw, followed by a right hook, then an elbow to the chin. Angewomon then spun 90 degrees and crashed her right elbow into his face before twisting at her hips and hitting Indramon with her left elbow. "That was for endangering my Tamer," she roared. This wrath of the angel Digimon gave new meaning to hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. She then got down low by flying underneath the now falling Indramon before going upwards and planted both her feet against the horse Dava's chin. Indramon flew upwards as Angewomon appeared above the horse Dava and then clasped her hands together and brought them down on Indramon. "That's for hurting my friends." And then as the purple pony fell, her giant light arrow formed, and then she aimed and let it fly straight and true. "And this is for hurting the man I love, Ultima Celestial Arrow." The 8-winged angel Digimon yelled out her final proclamation, which caused Juggernaut to smile. "She's a knockout," he whispered as the celestial arrow struck the horse Dava. A large explosion of light formed and a large smoke cloud resulted. Angewomon puffed as he fixed her hair and descended slowly to ground level. Her 8 wings flapped tiredly and her feather boy retracted back to lay against her arm. Angewomon smiled at the others and gave a thumbs up. "We won!" Kazu yelled. Naruto nodded, but then stopped as his eyes widened. No, it can't be," he yelled. He turned to his ultimate level partner. "Angewomon, get out of there now." The angel Digimon looked confused as she looked down and saw a bright light, and as she was struck, the last thing she heard before going into unconsciousness and reverting back to Gatomon was her name being yelled out by her boyfriend and the name of the attack that struck her. "Horn of Desolation." A pillar of light greeted the eyes of the 6 preteens and single teenager. Angewomon screamed loudly from the pain as the Bao Bei returned the power of her Ultima Celestial Arrow struck her with twice the force and twice the power, sending her falling to the ground smoking from her wings. Everyone's eyes widened, and then Naruto quickly channeled chakra into his feet and ran before catching the fallen angel. "Angewomon!" Juggernaut cried out in fear, the emotion evident in his burnt orange eyes. Angewomon, then she glowed with golden bronze light and shrunk down, becoming cat-like as she returned back to being Gatomon. Naruto shook with anger and sadness as he looked at his barely moving partner. He quickly formed hand signs and used one of the only healing jutsus he knew. Green chakra spread out over her body, healing her wounds, the dust on her fur still there though. He then got up and saw Cubimon right next to him. The 9-tailed Kitsune looked at Gatomon and nodded before taking her from Naruto. "That's it, you hurt this city, you hurt innocent people, and now you hurt my partner. There is no way in hell you're getting out of this alive, Indramon." Naruto roared. Killing intent flew from him and struck the ultimate level Digimon like a tsunami. Indramon didn't seem fazed by it, but on the inside he was sweating a bit. "He's a human, he can't do much," the horse Dava whispered to himself. He was proven quite wrong as Naruto, cloaked in a wild red aura of yokai, struck out with a powerful punch that sent Indramon skating backwards for several seconds before tripping over a car and then rolling on the ground. Naruto dropped down, and then Juggernaut flew up into the air and then dropped down in front of Naruto. "We will make you pay for hurting our comrade, the one I love," Juggernaut said, with a few tears falling from his burnt orange eyes. His rounded pupils were slitted now, just like Naruto, and contained a slight tint of crimson. Calliumon's red triangle and the 0 unit emblazoned on his forehead glowed intensely before shooting off towards Juggernaut, who was a few feet in front of the cream-puffed Digimon. Juggernaut growled as the power of the light of Digivolution filled him. "What, another one can digivolve?" Indramon thought as he rose to his feet. The armor that Naruto punched, a large chunk of the chrome digist fell off, and then Indramon looked as Naruto held a glowing sapphire card in his hand. Indramon could only gasp and say one thing: "Oh fuck." "Digimodify, Matrix Digivolution!" Naruto yelled, and the red light surrounding Juggernaut intensified before mixing with the deep blue of the blue card. Juggernaut growled before releasing a bestial roar to the heavens. Power flowing through him. Juggernaut Matrix Digivolve 2. Juggernaut's entire body was encased in what looked like liquid metal, solidifying over his body. Juggernaut's body was then changed within the metal cocoon, which could be seen from the external look of the metal covering. The metal then broke and revealed the ultimate level Digimon. The two front limbs grew longer, and then the dragon Digimon dropped onto all fours. The tail lengthened and began to twist along the length, and at the tip was a large golden spike of some sort. The dragon's face had elongated, looking for reptilian looking. A large blade made the horn that grew from his snout. 2 pairs of steel-colored wings. The lining surrounding the wings was a darker shade of gray than the membrane. 5 golden rings lined the skin that surrounded the lining of the membrane, each having 1 sharp golden spike on the rings. The back pair of wings were slightly smaller than the frontal pair. The dragon was covered with red fur with black zigzag markings. The nose area, feet, and underside of the dragon was snow white, just like the mane which ran down its back. The mane ending at the end of the long neck the dragon had. 4 gray, steel spikes jutted out of the neck of the ultimate level dragon Digimon, 2 on each side. The ears were more pointed. 3 long, sharp black claws poised to kill grew out of each foot, and its teeth were lined with many pearly white teeth. His crimson-red eyes glowed with power along with the old interface that remained on his forehead before releasing a roar to heavens. Doragreemon! Everyone stared in awe at the large dragon. The Digimon was as large as Indramon, possibly a bit bigger. You! Indramon paused. Yes, I digivolved now. Doragreemon's eyes glowed as he glared at Indramon. You misguided horse Dava, for hurting someone dear to me, prepare to face the consequences, Doragreemon growled. Indramon held the Bao Bei in front of him for defense, and charged the equal if not slightly larger dragon Digimon. He swung the large conch shell with a battle cry. Bao Bei! The purple horse cried and swung the shell. Doragreemon looked bored before ducking beneath the swing and charged forward and headbutt Indramon before rearing up on his hind legs and slashing with the forelimbs, leaving large gashes on the horse's body. He then impaled Indramon's arm from ahead by using the horn blade on his nose. As he removed the blade, Doragreemon twisted and grabbed Indramon's back left hoof and pulled, tripping the horse Dava and then standing atop of him and growled like the beast Digimon he was. I hold the alias as the final enemy Indramon, did you know that? I am your final enemy that you will see. Doragreemon held up his golden spike-pointed tail and held it high. Any last words? The crimson-furred dragon asked. Indramon chuckled before nodding. Hi too, Bobi. Huh! Doragreemon was suddenly struck in the head, sending him skidding over a few cars, before the dragon decided to use his wings and took flight. Horn of Desolation! The violet-colored Dava said before taking many deep breaths and launching multiple energy blasts from the Bao Bei. Doragreemon then twisted in the air to avoid one, and then performing a barrel roll to avoid another. He then ducked and became streamlined as he managed to squeeze himself tightly to avoid 2 that nearly sandwiched him before performing a loop-the-loop as he avoided another, and then dived down, spinning like a drill, looking like a tornado of red, black and gray. He plowed through the final Horn of Desolation attack and smirked as he crashed into Indramon, and then bit down with his sharp teeth at the area where his bicep was, and then using amazing feats of strength lifted the horse Dava up and slammed him down on the ground before picking him up again and slamming him down on another field of machinery, repeating this process a few more times before throwing the purple horse a good height, a few hundred feet into the air before flapping his powerful wings and meeting the large horse in the sky for all to see below at what he was about to do, before his tail was raised and poised to strike. Bloody Tower! His tail shot off faster than anyone had ever seen. As the Dava fell from the sky, it looked like nothing happened, but then large holes of data fell from Indramon as all 4 of his limbs were impaled. Doragreemon roared and fired a small ball made of steel from his maw. The ball then began to expand and grow larger until it was at least 10 times the size of Doragreemon himself. My final attack, Metal Meteor! The large metal sphere flew down from the sky, burning from the Frisitan with the air as it fell, making it literally red hot as it actually looked like a meteor. The attack then met Indramon's body and the Dava whinnied and screamed in pain as the body of Indramon was crushed and burnt before dispersing into red flakes of data that dissipated from view. Doragreemon walked up to Naruto, holding a 3/4 of fully awake Gatomon, and bent down. Is Gato-chan alright? The ultimate level Digimon asked. Hi Doragreemon, you were amazing out there. Good thing you digivolved in the nick of time, Naruto said, anger gone along with Kyuubi's yukai cloak of a tailless kitsune. Arigato, Naruto. Good to see Gato-chan is okay too, Doragreemon responded with a smile before walking over to the others, towering over them. Or, what did you guys think? I'm really strong now, right? Doragreemon asked. Yeah, and you're about as big as Wargolman, Takato managed to say, after seeing a large red-furred dragon with a lot of pointy objects attached to each limb was kind of scary. Suga! Everyone else cried out, including Rinamon and Rika. Naruto-kun, she said, walking over to him as he came over. She then glared at him before slapping him in the face. This surprised for as he was about to ask why, she suddenly captured his lips with her own. Naruto melted into the kiss and could feel what emotion she felt, happiness at the victory, but sadness and a bit of betrayal. Rika-chan, he couldn't continue as Rika stopped him. I know you said you would risk your life for us, but I just got you Naruto and I don't want to lose you. Not now, not ever, she whispered the last part. Naruto's eyes widened, he didn't know Rika cared that much for him. He smirked before bending down slightly to reach her eye level. Gomen Rika-chan, but until we defeat Zhuqiaomon or whoever is behind this, I'm not going anywhere and I won't die, never. Not until my time comes, Naruto said with a fox grin on his face before pecking her on the lips and then watched as Dorman de-digivolved back into Digimon and then into Dorman. Dorman sighed as he fell to one knee. You okay there, buddy? Naruto asked the dragon Digimon. The ex-antibody holder smirked, panting slightly. Hi, I'm okay, Naruto. Just get Gato-chan, he said. He was suddenly tackled in a hug as Gatomon had woken up. In fact, she was awake just after he digivolved. Naruto was just too surprised to notice. You were amazing, you know that she spoke into his ears. His pointed ears twitched as her warm breath tickled the sensitive parts. His eyes widened. You saw? He asked. She nodded. I was awake just after I saw the light disappear just as you finished digivolving, the feline Digimon explained. Well, I did it all for you, just like you fought as Angewomon for me, Dorman said, smiling at his feline girlfriend. Gatomon smirked before kissing him on the cheek. And it's why I love you, Dorukun. Never afraid to risk your life for your comrades. Looks like a trait from our Tamer has rubbed off onto you, Gatomon said with a giggle. Dorman nodded and chuckled, a small grin on his face. So it appears the group then rose to their feet, the Digimon having all returned to rookie level, and then headed back for their homes. Rika-chan, I thought we had a date this evening? Naruto asked his girlfriend. Oh yeah, well then after why don't we go now? She asked. The blonde nodded and smirked. I'll show you how to make ramen. My Oka-chan had a secret recipe so you can help me make it for lunch, the whisker-marked Jinchuriki spoke. The two chuckled as they continued to walk with the rest of the group. Hypnos HQ. Yamaki, there have been reports of a giant horse on the news. What are doing to explain this so as not to cause any more panic? After all, many were at the scene of where the Digimon appeared. A man with a business suit, black sunglasses and black hair, on a screen said. Another screen flashed on along with one other. Yeah, Yamaki, you gotta do something. People are already thinking that something's up, another man said. He was in between fat and skinny, but was still a bit big and wore a gray business suit and was nearly completely bald. I say let's go eat lunch to get our mind off of things before making a decision, a man who looked like he was playing golf said as he swung the 9-iron club. Nice swing, Tokushima, the man in the black business suit said as he watched the ball sail through the air. Arigato, Kenshin. I've been working on it. So Yamaki, what are you going to do? They all asked the blonde leader of Hypnos. Don't worry about it. I'll handle it. Yamaki said as he paused. Just give me some time. It was you guys who created Hypnos in the first place. I'm the one who has to do all the hard work and create all the cover stories. Okay, but make sure you'll be able to submit it soon, no less than 3 days. Any more and the public will think that the city will be under attack by real Digimon, the balding man said. Well, the wife's calling, gotta go. Riza out the screen with the balding man went black. Kenshin/Tokushima out. Good luck, Yamaki. They said, and their screens went black also, leaving Yamaki alone with Riley, Tally and the computers. Set up an excuse. Make sure this occurs throughout the entirety of West Shinjuku. No screw-ups, okay, Ryu, Tally? People will begin to suspect Digimon are real things, so we cannot allow this to happen as widespread chaos on a worldwide scale could occur. Keep Juggernaut X at the ready. Hi, now then. Yamaki turned away, playing with his lighter, and picked up a book labeled Digimon the Encyclopedia. Time to learn more about you digital monsters. Digital world. Oh, confound it, Indramon has been defeated. At least they killed him. If he had come back to me empty-handed, his death would not have been so swift, Zhuqiaomon grumbled to himself. The fires of his throne burning more intensely due to his anger, bordering on orange to blue as they got hotter. Zhuqiaomon then looked at the copy of the real world's calendar. I guess I'll send out Vajraman and Pajraman next, and then after that come Biraman. Majraman is much too rebellious and would only follow Ezulongman, even denying to do the actions of the other sovereigns. But Zhuqiaomon paused as he looked out of the corner of his eye and into the dark corner of his lair. If he could have, Zhuqiaomon would have smirked. Of course this is difficult as a bird. A small figure walked out of the dark corner and nodded. On the red scarf the small Digimon wore was a violet symbol, the digital hazard emblazoned on the red neckerchief. His leathery purple skin, pale face, and shining green eyes graced the presence of the Sovereign of the South, or would it have been the other way? In just 3 months the plan will come into action and all shall bow to the Digimon sovereigns and the chaos will finally be able to be kept at bay once more. Isn't that right, Immon? Zhuqiaomon asked with a hint of mirth in his burning golden eyes. Hi, Zhuqiaomon-sama, Immon replied, the digital hazard symbol seeming to pulse on the fabric, and the once deep green eyes became shrouded in sky blue, mixing to make an aquamarine color. Think what you wish, Zhuqiaomon-sama, Lucemon thought with a smirk. But this little puppet is one of the many pawns that I shall use to take my place as king of the digital world, and yet you don't even know that you are one yourself, foolish sovereign.